Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing for the invocation by Pastor John Verso of Choose United Methodist Church.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Almighty and gracious God, we thank you for this evening, and we thank you for this opportunity as we celebrate Black History Month to honor those leaders in our community who are making a difference. We thank you for the blessings that you have given us in this township, and we ask you for wisdom to handle the challenges we face. Lord, we ask your blessing upon this meeting tonight and every discussion had herein. We pray your blessing upon our leaders in this community, our mayor, our council members, all of those in charge of keeping us safe and keeping this township running. And Lord, we just ask that you would help us to continue to work together to build a more just and equitable society, a beloved community that you intend us to be. All of this, O Lord, we ask in your precious name. Amen.
Amen.
I ask if you could please remain standing for one moment. Recently, our township lost a former police chief, Seth Stickler, who served for the Gloucester Township Police Department from 1960 to 1989. So if we have a moment of silence for him, hold him and his family in our thoughts and prayers. Thank you. Please be seated, everyone. This regular meeting of the Township Council is being held in accordance with the schedule of the meetings of the Township Council established and adopted by the Township Council, which schedule designates the time, date, and place of this meeting. Adequate public notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. We're using electronic amplifying and recording device in order to obtain a clear and audible record. And we request all those wishing to speak to be recognized and state your name and address directly to the microphone. The recording device will be solely utilized by the Township Clerk's Office for the preparation of minutes and shall be the official record of the Township Council meeting. Madam Clerk, may I have the roll call, please?
Mr. Hutchison.
Present.
Ms. Grace. Here. Mrs. Albright Troxel. Here. Mrs. Stubbs. Mrs. Winters.
She is tending to a personal family matter.
Mr. Mignon.
Here.
Mr. Mercado.
Present.
Mr. Carlemere.
Here.
Mr. Cardis.
Here.
Chief Harkins.
Here.
Mr. McGill.
Here.
Tonight, we celebrate Black History Month in our community. We send out through all our social media and our website, and also to our schools and our community for individuals to be nominated, be recognized for their contributions to our community. So tonight, we'll celebrate it. We'll walk down there. I'm going to ask Ava Cooper if you could meet me at the microphone. Okay, so this afternoon, I was speaking to Ava's mother, getting some background about her. One of the things that she discussed was her desire to be in performing arts. She's part of the performing arts program, drama, and also choir at Glen Landing. But one of the things that I'd asked her to help us out with is on your program is the lyrics to Lift Every Voice and Sing. So Ava, I said, do you think Ava would do it? I said, because I'm off key, and everyone else is off key. And they said, well, I'm not sure. I said, I will stand next to her. And I said, I'll be the harmony, you be the melody. So if you got it, I'll ask you to stand, please. The lyrics, we're only doing the first verse. I saw all three. That was a mistake. We're gonna only do the first verse, okay? Yes. Okay. You know lyrics?
I
Ready?
haven't had much.
No
I'll
problem.
try.
I'm here. Sorry. Here we go. Lift every voice
and sing to heaven, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let us rejoicing rise high as the lifting skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that has dawned. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun, our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Please be seated, everyone. Before we start our program today, we have a few dignitaries I'd like to introduce. The Mayor of Gloucester Township, David R. Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. And from the Camden County Commissioners, Virginia Betteridge, Commissioner Betteridge. Thank you for being here. So Ava was nominated by her principal at Glen Landing Middle School and also her teacher, Mrs. Halpin. She's an 8th grade student at Glen Landing Middle School. And one of the things that was brought up in her narrative is that her kindness and her desire to be a part of her Glen Landing community, but also the community as a whole here in Gloucester Township. She had stated that Mrs. Halpin inspired her to be in performing arts. For 3 years, she's been part of the drama club, 2 years part of the choir. And just yesterday, you were part of the Camden County Honors Choir. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Some adjectives to describe her that are a narrative is that she is captivating. She's outstanding. She has character, and every character that she plays in her theatrical performances come alive when she's on the stage. She was part of student government. She's a school ambassador. So when our veterans come to Glen Landing School, she's there giving them a tour. When the mayor toured, she greeted him as a school ambassador. She volunteers with her father with a group of special needs adults called Unified Sports. And she also participated on MLK Day of Service, putting blankets together for women from a domestic violence shelter. So for all of these things, she is a recipient of Black History Month Award presented to Ava Cooper in recognition of her exemplary leadership, outstanding service, and dedication to the people of the Township of Gloucester. February 2023, Gloucester Township Mayor David R. Mayor and Council. You have here a citation from Congressman Norcross. In addition to that, a citation from Camden County. In addition to that, a citation from the New Jersey Legislature. And this plaque as well. Congratulations.
Hi everyone. I just want to say thank you so much. I would have never expected any of this to happen. It's all thanks to the people who inspire me. So thank you for that.
Our next recipient, Byron Carmichael, is not here this evening, but I'll just read his bio. Byron is a assistant principal at C.W. Lewis School. He was nominated by his principal. He has been the assistant principal at Charles W. Lewis Middle School for the last 6 years. He started off as a teacher in the Trenton School District from 2007 to 2016. And in 2015, that year, he was the New Jersey Governor's Teacher of the Year for the district of the Trenton School District. If you Google him, he is in 3 different Hall of Fames for his soccer abilities. He was the South Jersey Player of the Year in 1998. He was drafted by Major League Soccer. He is an all-time leading scorer at Marshall University in West Virginia in soccer. He is part of the Hall of Fame of Marshall University Athletics and was also inducted into the Hall of Fame for the Ocean City. It's a minor league soccer league. But the reason he was nominated was not for his athletic accomplishments, but because of how he interacts with our students at C.W. Lewis School. He has a burning desire to inspire our students there. He's an advocate for children. He interacts with our students throughout the day in the hallway, in the cafeteria, and he handles situations with competency and situation. He understands the middle school child. So I'm very honored to honor and bestow this Black History Month award to Byron Carmichael, and I'll make sure he receives that. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Would Deja Parnell please come down? Come on down, Deja. Deja's from Magnolia, and she was nominated by Mr. John Barnett and Miss Melissa Shepard of Triton High School. She's ranked #1 in her junior high school class.
All right.
And Mrs. Mack says, congratulations. I bumped into her today. Anyway, Deja is dedicated to the betterment of her school, her community, and surrounding communities, which is very interesting because she doesn't just stop at the border of Gloucester Township. She moves beyond. She's kind, she's caring, and what I was told, an exemplary citizen. She talks the talk, but more important, she walks the walk. Because we can all talk the talk, but if we don't do anything about it, what's the sense? Now I'll just tell you a few positions that she holds in her high school. She's president of the No Place for Hate Leadership Group. They were trained for 3 full school days by the Anti-Defamation League. And the training that she received, along with her peers, she uses that and passes it on to her students that are in her classes, and she gives presentations to her classes, which I think is wonderful. You got to pass on what you learn, especially when it's good. She's vice president of student council. Yeah. Okay. They organize the yearly spirit weeks and pep rallies, so she's pretty busy with that too. She's co-president of the African American Club, which organizes the celebration of Black History Month, where she recruits new members and she fosters an environment among her peers to feel that they can be heard and they can share their experiences, which is very important. Now, how her outside participation, I'm getting tired just hearing what she does. She's participated in 3 walks, 2 for Alzheimer's and 1 for diabetes. She frequently outreaches the local assisted living facility to help there, and she also helps with the local veterans. She's worked on projects to feed the homeless, and she assists those that have been victims of domestic violence. So everyone is very proud of Deja, and they're even more excited, not only of what she has done, but what she's going to do with her future, because it will be nothing short of amazing. Deja? And I have all these goodies for you. And this plaque, it says, in recognition of your exemplary leadership, outstanding service, and dedication to the people of the township, February 2023, from our mayor and township council.
Good evening. I'd like to bring up Ilana Bruce. Ilana is a 5th grade student at J.W. Lilly, and she was recognized by the librarian, Allison Vallejo. So some of the things that Allison had said, Miss Vallejo had said about Ilana was from the early age of her being a kindergartner, she always stood out. And she stood out because she had a passion for African culture and Black history. From the time she was able to read, Miss Vallejo said that she could see her asking questions on topics of the African culture, specifically Ruby Bridges and the Montgomery bus boycott. Now, I did challenge Ilana a little bit ago to explain to everybody what that was. And she said she would do it. So we're going to save that for the end, correct? Okay. So also, she has a very strong, supportive family. Mom, dad, grandmom, brother. So mom and grandmom come from Guinea, West Africa. And they come to join Ilana in her class and go over African culture to her classmates, helping her coach and teach what the African culture is all about. Ilana can also be heard explaining and talking to other students about the Black history. So you talk about a leader. So at this age, she's already taken those proper steps to become a great leader, especially in our township. She's also a cheerleader, an all-star cheerleader at that. She plays lacrosse, and she can also be heard talking about her African culture with her teammates. So I'm going to turn it over to Ilana. She's going to tell us 3 things. She's going to tell us about Ruby Bridges. She's going to talk to us about the boycott bus. And she's also going to talk about her favorite African food. Ready? All right, so let's start with Ruby Bridges.
So, Ruby Bridges, at a very young age, went from an all-Black school in Alabama during an extremely rough time to an all-white school. I mean, everyone hated this. They said they would poison her food. She wasn't eating. National guards had to guard her into the school while she was walking. People threw stuff at her, but she excelled in her new school. And they hated that, but they soon came to realize that she's not leaving and she's going to stay and do even better. That's a great example. My favorite food, West African food, is agussi and fufu.
What is it? What's an agussi fufu?
Agussi is rice boiled in a pot, like hot water boiled until it's very, very soft. And it's like, kind of like oatmeal.
Very good. I'm going to help her with the Montgomery bus boycott. So that happened downtown Alabama. And I'm going to tell you, I didn't know these stories until I started looking at her biography. So I learned something today also. So thank you, Ilana. So this happened downtown Alabama, and because of the segregation of the bus rides, where they had to sit, they boycotted riding the bus. So, Ilana, I want to thank you for brightening my education and making me learn something. So thank you very much, and I'm going to give you this. It says, presented to Ilana A. Bruce in recognition of your exemplary leadership, outstanding service, and dedication to the people of the township. February 2023, Gloucester Township, Mayor David R. Mayor and Council. Let's give her a big round of applause.
Kayla Cicero. You promised to show me a couple moves, right? I got 2 left feet. Kayla was nominated by Mr. Varga at Highland High School. I attempt to get to know the award recipients prior to doing this delivery. So I had the opportunity to speak with Kayla yesterday. I wanted to do it really early in the morning, and but she had to do church first, which I got to tell you, it's always impressive when people put their faith before everything else. So Mr. Varga wrote something down. I'd like to read what he wrote, and then just give a little input thereafter. Kayla Cicero is an exemplary citizen who demonstrated significant contributions in the community and has many professional accomplishments. Ms. Cicero has been the dance teacher at Highland High School for 7 years. Now it's interesting though, when she came there, there was no dance program, right? So she had to write the curriculum. And I think that's pretty impressive. You take something, and you basically have a blank sheet of paper, and you have to put something on it and create something. That's a talent, one that I don't have. But and I think that you started off with one program, and then you built on that program so that you could take advantage of, or actually provide different levels of education to each of the kids, because there's some kids who don't fit into the lowest or the highest, and you have now 4 different levels and 4 different sub-levels. During her 7 years here, she has led many assemblies and performances to highlight dance. Her students continue to thrive in her class as she teaches different types of dance, such as step, modern, and contemporary. Ms. Cicero has also 4 dance teams that have performed within community festivals and events. I asked Kayla if she would send me a clip of one of her team's performances, and I looked at it, and just as I watch beautiful things, I tend to be a tad bit emotional, and watching the students perform the praise aspect of it was very emotional to me, and I highly recommend that if you have the opportunity, look at the YouTube videos. It's very impressive. Ms. Cicero is known within the community for her students' performances. A parent emailed the other day stating, I wanted to take a moment and email you about the absolutely amazing performance the Highland Dancers put on Friday night. That's the one that I saw. I was so entertained the entire evening. The Highland Dancers were by far the standout. My daughter Lily has learned more dance skills these last few months than she does in her own dance studio classes she takes in the evening. I'm looking forward to Lily learning more and more each year with you. Some of Ms. Cicero's personal accomplishments are that she helps out with the youth in many different churches from her hometown. She currently runs the praise dance team at the First Baptist Mitzvah Church. She also volunteers at Asbury AME Youth Program by teaching them how to problem solve through dance. That's pretty incredible. I asked her what her aspirations were, and she indicated that she wanted to perform
She wants to also help others perform. So I'm going to give you these awards. This award right here is the Black History Month Award that you've heard everybody speak of. In addition, Congressman Norcross has given you a commendation. The Senate and the Assembly has given accommodations, and the Camden County Commissioners have as well. So these are very impressive awards. I hope they make it to your wall. You're a special person.
Well, good evening, everybody. Mr. Harris, it's good to see you. Thank you for being here today. Kayla, you're an outstanding dance instructor, but you cannot, even you can't teach Dan how to dance. That's not going to happen. We have high hopes. I have the distinct honor of bringing forward the outstanding principal of Timber Creek High School, Mrs. Kelly McKenzie. So Mrs. McKenzie was nominated by the faculty, the staff, the students of Timber Creek High School, and I want to read to you some of what they have said about Mrs. McKenzie. We here at Timber Creek Regional High School are lucky enough to get to call Mrs. Kelly McKenzie our principal and leader. Some of us are even luckier and also get to call her our friend. Mrs. McKenzie truly cares about the students, staff, and our community. She starts each day with her feel-good music, her positive morning announcements, and is always smiling and laughing. And you can hear her laugh a mile away. She has the amazing ability to connect with students on all educational levels and ethnic diversities, and is an inspiration to many as a strong Black woman in a powerful position. And I've had the opportunity to visit Timber Creek High School. I see the passion that you have, a passion for education, a passion for the students, and as they said, a passion for this Gloucester Township community. They also mentioned that most of you attend almost every event that the school has, so you're very busy with that. And that most of your wardrobe consists of navy blue and silver, including your sparkly silver shoes. You're right. So, Mrs. McKenzie, I want to thank you on behalf of our council, myself, the residents of Gloucester Township. Thank you for making a difference in our community, and more importantly, thank you for making a difference in the youth of our community. So I'm happy to present this plaque as well as the certificates to you, and we'll get a picture and then ask you to say a few words.
I wrote down a few words because this is as close to a Grammy Award speech as I'm going to get. And I'm soaking up the moment. I'm all charged up. Okay. So again, I've never really ever received an award. I've never even won the lottery. But to receive acknowledgement for my work in the community is pretty fantastic because I love living here. I mean, at any given moment, you could catch me in my cool minivan bumping loud music through the mean streets of Gloucester Township. My husband coaches for the township. Our kids are enrolled at Lilly and Mullen Middle School, and they participate in soccer, Girl Scouts, wrestling, field hockey, and lacrosse. This really means I have no life, and we stay extra busy at my house. We have 4 kids. But it also means that we believe in our neighborhood and its influence on our most precious gifts, our children. 4 years ago, I took a leap of faith and left the job after 14 years, and it was the best decision I ever made. I thought I was minimizing my commute, but what I was actually doing was maximizing my gift. I cannot say this enough. I love my job. I love my students, and I love my staff. My job is the best job on the planet, actually. Yup, tell Oprah to step aside. Being a building principal is where it's at. I'm just saying. When I was young, my mom was a teacher in the area we lived, and my dad served on the Board of Education. Through their personal actions and investment, my sister and I learned early on that giving back to your community was a responsibility and a huge privilege. It's a whole vibe. Having a squad is important, and I'd like to recognize my village. I don't work without them. I'd like to ask for my village to stand, my friends, my family, and my Timber Creek work family. Can you give like a huge little... My friends, my family, they mean a lot to me, and I am thankful for all of them. But I especially want to acknowledge my husband and my kids for lending half of me to the other place I call home. They believe in my purpose, and low-key, I think they also love the coolness that comes from telling people my mom and my wife is the principal at Timber Creek. My husband says it all the time. Plus, they love the swivel chair in my office. Now, seeing Black and brown people in our schools is super duper important. When my students see me, I hope they see a version of themselves. Najatane. Those things matter to my own kids, and I hope they matter to my students. In Charger Country, I don't achieve great things alone, and I'd like to thank my Timber Creek and Black Horse Pike Regional School District family for supporting my vision, enhancing my leadership, and embracing my leadership, and believing in one person's ability to change the life of a child. That is what all of them do every day. That's my intent, and I hope my impact yields that outcome. In closing, I leave you with some wise words from the man upstairs, because Jesus is my homeboy. Ephesians 4:1-2 reminds us to live a life worthy of the calling you have received. Be completely humble and gentle, be patient, and bear with one another in love. Ladies and gentlemen, be purposeful, uplift people, care. Ask kids how they are doing and really listen to the answer. Ask adults how they are doing and really listen to the answer. I ask you, I charge you to support teachers and administrators and all sorts of educator people. And always, 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 my mother always said to speak the truth in love. I appreciate this award. I appreciate the month I am receiving the award. And as I try to encourage equitable opportunities for students, I ask that you continue to foster a world that values differences and inspires courageous conversation. Thank you.
Mr. McKenzie needs to step it up because his wife received an award. His two daughters were honored at MLK Day. You're coming up a little short, sir. All right? And I'm taking notes here. I said, because normally we have some music and we have some talent here. So I got a singer, we got a storyteller. Where's the line? I got a storyteller, and I got a dancer. Okay, Kayla. All right, so we got some entertainment next year, correct? All right, okay, here we go. All right, so I have to pinch hit for Councilwoman Winters. She could not be here today, so I am going to bring up Najatane Saunders from Timber Creek Regional High School. I apologize, I'm reading this, I got this late. She was nominated from Timber Creek from Jen Brown. I would like to nominate Najatane Saunders for the Black History Month for Gloucester Township. Naja Tanae demonstrates 3 distinct characteristics that make her a perfect candidate to be honored for Black History Month. These characteristics include scholarship, leadership, and service. Naja Tanae currently has a 4.56 GPA. We'll just stop there. We'll just stop. Here. Okay. And is ranked 10 out of 279 students. In addition to her academics, Naja Tanae is a leader amongst her peers. She is the president of the National Honor Society, a youth mentor for the South Jersey region of Greater Philadelphia Church of Christ. She was invited to speak for the virtual Power Conference and attended the NSU Shark Week preview this year. I thought it was shark, but it's shark.
No, that's exactly it.
Shark, okay, there you go. Naja Tanae is always willing to lend a helping hand to her classmates, school, and community. She participates in community service projects through her membership in the National Honor Society, French Honor Society, and Science Honor Society. Service activities include tutoring, a speaker at the Ann Mullen Jr. National Honor Society induction ceremony. I attended that event, and she sat there and inducted the students of this past January at Ann A. Mullen School. And you went to Ann A. Mullen School too. Correct. She's participated in fundraisers supporting the women's shelter, blood drives, and collecting food donations. She is a perfect candidate for this honor, and I think we can all agree upon that. On behalf of Gloucester Township, a recognition of your exemplary leadership, outstanding service, and dedication to the people of Gloucester Township, February 2023, David R. Mayor and Council. Congratulations.
Wow, I feel very honored right now. Kind of speechless, especially because I didn't grow up in Gloucester. I actually grew up in Winslow Township. And even moving here in middle school, I felt very loved by the people around me, whether it was staff, making me feel like this could be my home and making it feel like I had a place here. So I want to thank those people and also my parents for always just making me feel like I had a lot of value. I always had something to give, so thank you.
On behalf of council and mayor, I want to welcome up Nasir Ali Gildem. Timber Creek is on fire. Leaders, this is one of your great young leaders of tomorrow. So I just want to share, and he was nominated by Mr. Robert, Vice Principal, Mr. Robert McDillon. Thank you. So I just want to share some of your words in regards to your extraordinary student. I enjoyed, reading all this about him. But of course, he is a senior at Timber Creek High School, junior.
Yes.
Okay, you are the class president of 2024. Okay. And he is a perfect fit for this because he really, really is an amazing example of the leadership. So we're recognizing his leadership within his school and his community. He's involved in all facets of school, community, and some of the things that he's involved in is the first annual planning of movie night. He is taking part in class spirit events. He fundraises, he keeps a true charter spirit throughout the school and all year through. He is also maintains his grades. He is well known in his school, and he also is the Charlie in charge for school events and activities. So you actually are the is that the mascot? Okay. So he also is an example for the rest of the students as well. He's also a person that advocates for others and for the quieter students in the school. He looks out for those students, and that's an important aspect of being a leader. Look out for those who may not have a voice and speak, because that's a great leadership when you're in your community and you want to advocate for others. Continue to do that. So we are here to celebrate all of our recipients, but this young leader here, I'm very proud of you, and I want to give you this award on behalf of your school and council and mayor, that he, in recognition, presented to Nasir. Let me turn it around. Let's turn it around. In recognition and presented to Nasir Ali Gillard, in recognition of your exemplary leadership, outstanding service, and dedication to the people of the township. On February 2023, from Gloucester Township, Mayor Dave, our mayor, and council recognize you as a leader.
Thank you. I just want to thank my family and all my supporters of Timber Creek High School. I was new coming up into Ann Mullen. I went to Ann Mullen too. But Timber Creek really made me feel like at home, more of a home than I could say. Being a part of Timber Creek High School in Gloucester Township, it warms my heart waking up every day and being the person that I am and having the energy that I have. I know that the long road is ahead, and I know I'm definitely going to be hitting some bumps. But the real thing is the destination. That's what I'm there for. Thank you.
Our next recipient, and has done a lot for our community, not only in fundraising, but also has an extensive work experience and dedicated to his community. And again, I believe Timber Creek. So I would like to welcome up Mr. Willie A. Smith. And he was nominated by Bobby Harris, who is the president and founder of the DOT organization. And we thank him for nominating this wonderful man here for his leadership. So I want to read a little bit about Willie. So Willie is currently the vice president of the Office in Strategy Realization for South Jersey Industries. In his role, he is responsible for prioritizing of projects and programs across enterprises to ensure they align with strategic goals and deploy the best use of capital and resources. In addition, his organization oversees the corporate due diligence process for all merger and acquisitions activities. Further, Will has over 20 years of experience with increasing responsibility in the IT and resources arena. He has a BA in civil engineering and an MBA in concentration in finances from Wider User University. In his very impressive. In his service to the community for Gloucester Township, Will serves on the board of African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey with the mission of economic empowerment and sustaining African American communities and business in New Jersey. As a resident of Gloucester Township for 20 plus years and a former Gloucester Township Girls Athletic Association cheer team dad, he is the proud father of 2 Timber Creek graduates and continues to serve his community. As a former treasurer and current member of American Association of Black in Energy, Will has raised over $45,000 for students of color and around his community to attend college. He is here supported by his wife, Michelle. They've been married for 26 years and celebrating their anniversary this year. All right. They have 3 children and a grandchildren. He has Taylor, is a graduate of the College of New Jersey. And Lauren is 22, is a graduate of the University of Maryland and started her doctoral program. And son Ahmad is not here today, he's 32. Okay, so he has a wonderful family of leaders on the rise. So I'm very proud of you and your family. Thank you for all that you do for our community. Okay, to Mr. Will A. Smith II, in recognition of your exemplary service and dedication to the people of Township, February 2023, Gloucester Township, in recognition from Mayor Dave, our mayor and council.
I won't give my Grammy speech. I'm still waiting on that one. But in all seriousness, this is amazing. Again, first I want to just thank Mayor and the council for honoring me during Black History Month here at Gloucester Township. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge those individuals whose love and support really has allowed me to become the individual you see before me. First, I'd like to honor my wife, again, Lachelle. Like I said, she's been by my side my whole life and really has been an encouragement for me and has supported me in all of my life's endeavors. I also want to acknowledge my father, who unfortunately could not be with us today, but he has throughout my life demonstrated what a man is supposed to be and how to be a man of God. And so I'm so appreciative of that. I also want to acknowledge my mother, who's here today. My mother has always had unconditional love for me and continues to do so throughout my life, and I'm so appreciative of that. Again, I just want to acknowledge my children, my son Ahmad, who's actually abroad right now, gave us our first grandchild about a month ago, and so we're excited associated with that. And then to my 2 Timber Creek graduates, first, Taylor, like I said, she actually has, from graduating from Timber Creek, went on to get a biology degree from the College of New Jersey and now is a lead at a pharmaceutical manufacturing company, so I'm so proud of her. And then also my youngest daughter, who graduated from Timber Creek as well, she graduated from the University of Delaware with a biomedical engineering degree, and now she's working on her doctoral degree, PhD actually, at the University of Maryland in biomedicine. So just shows you what a good education you get here in Gloucester Township, and I'm very pleased associated with that. One more individual I'd like to acknowledge is Bobby Harris. Bobby, I respect you. I salute you, sir. You always are an example of service. And you really are the mantra of your organization, Dreams of Tomorrow, and really helping those happen associated with you. I know you're one of those individuals that doesn't like the spotlight, but you deserve it. So thank you, sir. And then I just want to leave with a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. And really, it goes this way: is the life's most pressing and intimate question, important, immediate question that needs to be addressed right now is, what are you doing for others? So thank you.
All right, Ms. McKenzie, let's keep the energy going because we're going to finish up with a Timber Creek alumni, Mr. Tyler Hines. Now, I'm not going to say we saved the best for last, but we certainly saved the tallest for last. So today at lunch, I got an opportunity to call Tyler, and I'm sitting in my office, and I have these papers here, and I started highlighting all the fine points. And one of my employees came in and sat there and said, "What are you doing, Michael?" I said, "Well, I'm going to recognize a young individual tonight, and there's some things I want to say." She's like, "You're highlighting the whole paper. Why don't you just read the whole paper?" When I called Tyler today, I spoke to an individual that was extremely humble and grateful for this honor. And I told him that I've been doing it since 2016. And I have never seen 2 folks nominate one individual. And I was given these papers. He was nominated by Miss Francesca Dominguez, who was the GT District Teacher of the Year in 18 and 19, and by Melissa Shepard. And they both say the same thing, which goes to show you how true this really is. Yep. So Tyler is a 2008 graduate from Timber Creek High School, and he's always looking to give back to Gloucester Township community. He received a full athletic scholarship to the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, where he played basketball. What position did you play? Small forward. Could you hit that shot that Embiid made the other night? After graduating in 2012, he signed his first professional contract. He played for 6 years in Greece, Serbia, Macedonia, Austria, Cyprus, and Germany. He is the founder of Team Hines Basketball Academy, elite level athlete training, and Just a Kid from Sickleville Mentoring and Leadership Program. And I told him, driving around the town, you see the signs everywhere around, Team Hines. And I was telling him earlier that both of my children graduated from Timber Creek High School. Yep, how about that? Let's keep it going. And from 2007, I would go in there with Aerial Little League, and I came to the community in 2000. I would go into Timber Creek's gym, and I saw these plaques up there, and a lot of Hines. It was all Hines. And I said, I got to meet this guy. So tonight I get that opportunity. So Tyler began working with the Black Horse Pike Regional School District as their lead district mentor. He also created the Black Horse Pike Regional School District Mentoring Program, which teaches basic life skills, the value of education, quality life choices, and how to create a thriving future to students throughout the district. He and his brother host an annual summer basketball camp at Timber Creek to give kids the opportunity to stay active while employing high school students. Tyler and the Hines Family Foundation have hosted numerous community service drives, and they've been renovating old playgrounds throughout South Jersey and Philadelphia to give children a safe place to have fun. And the most recent one I saw in Sickleville Sun, I was telling you, Donio Park. Yep. They've donated over $20,000 in scholarships to students in Gloucester Township to help with the cost of college, military trade school, or any post-secondary career choice. Now, Ms. Dominguez got a chance to work with Tyler at the Miss Timber Creek competition, and she was impressed about his questions and his overall presence. And she's the leader of A&A Mullen's annual Women's Day Conference, and she was searching for someone to lead this for similar boys event through the Renaissance program. And then she said once she met Tyler, she knew he was the man for the job. Tyler brought other gentlemen from this mentoring program and had an amazing event for our Mullen boys. Okay, Tyler remains just a kid from Sickleville at heart. All right, that's all from Ms. Dominguez. Now I'm going to get into Ms. Shepard. The Just a Kid from Sickleville Mentoring Leadership Program is for youth and young adults. The goals of this program are to teach basic life skills, the value of education, quality life choices, and how to create a thriving future. Tyler created a structured mentoring program that focuses on at-risk students that are failing classes and having discipline issues. The mission is to provide the youth of Sickleville and other surrounding communities the tools and opportunities to pursue and accomplish their dreams. Tyler's goal is to show the youth the possibilities that await them, as well as the challenges that they may face on the road to success. For the last 4 years, he's been a mentor to the students at Triton, Highland, and Timber Creek. The impact he had on the students and the positive impact on the school culture led the district to create 3 positions, a mentor in each building, with Tyler being the lead. He teaches problem-solving skills, self-advocacy, and guides teenagers to make positive decisions that will impact their future. Tyler assists students with finding employment, transportation, and knocking down other barriers that may impede their life progress. And I was telling him that, to me, that sentence sticks out more than anything in this whole paperwork. Whenever I reach out to him to assist, he answers, "I got this, I got you," and he does. During his lunch, his office is always filled with students who want to spend time with him and look up to him for advice. Tyler, congratulations.
I'm not a fan of microphones, but I hope everybody can hear me. One word that I always think about is opportunity. And I had an opportunity to be a kid here in Civil, but also Gloucester Township. And I was given a lot of opportunities. Going to Timber Creek High School, I was given a lot of opportunities. Going to college, given a lot of opportunities. But I won a lot of championships, scored a lot of points. But my favorite part about my life now is giving back to my community. And I'm very thankful for the opportunity that Gloucester Township has given me, Black Horse Pike School District has given me, Gloucester Township School District, and also the residents here. Ms. Scully, I appreciate you so much because you, when I retired from playing, you and Dr. PC really took a chance and, you know, created something that we've never had in this in our school district. So thank you so much, Mr. Kamalo. Y'all know me and being a kid from Sicklerville, so being able to you know, have a full circle moment and, you know, see me as an adult and learn from you guys, I really appreciate it. To Miss McKenzie, you know how much you mean to me. Seeing you be in this community as a strong Black woman, give back to the kids, your family. Like you said, you're going down Jarvis Road with the minivan and all that, but how you're able to give back, you know, it means a lot. And to Miss Shepherd, you know, Triton was our rivals. You know that Triton was our rival, but Triton has become my home. And I thank you so much for that because you mean a lot. You believe in me, you keep me level-headed, you help me out so much. And even though I'm just a kid, Triton means a lot to me. I thank you for that. All right. I'm a newlywed, so forgive me for that. Awesome. My parents couldn't be here. My brother's also playing in Italy, but my biggest support system, my wife, that's over there, Tiffany.
One of the great things is, you know, doing this is I got a chance, like I said, to talk to Tyler, and we run the Gloucester Township Field of Dreams. It's a baseball program for special needs kids. So obviously, looking at this resume, I said, Tyler, you're going to help me out here. We need 4 days with a group of buddies. So I'm going to stay in touch with Tyler, and we're going to be able to get his group to come out and assist us with that.
Thanks for
Ladies and gentlemen, before I close this evening, let me introduce our County Commissioner, Ginny Betteridge, who's also a former mayor of Runnymede. And Ginny is always so very receptive to our asks and needs here in Gloucester Township, and we have a great partnership with the county. So, Commissioner, I thank you so very much for joining us and ask you to say a few words.
Good evening, council members.
Good evening.
Hello, everyone. How are you tonight? Are you feeling energized? Are you feeling motivated? And do you feel like family? Okay, well, amen to that. So I just want to bring greetings on behalf of the commissioners of Camden County. We travel the county and see a lot of things that are good things, difficult things, and very sad things. But I come tonight to bring you hope and inspiration that we are your partners. We are listening. And if you need something, where it's on the 6th floor at City Hall in Camden City, we take our jobs very seriously. And to see the young people achieve the goals by the mentors that have put out their hands to them is just extremely heartwarming. To see the community come together and celebrate such a precious month, because a lot of people laid everything that they had to be able to get us to this century, to this day, and to this moment. So I commend you all for taking the opportunities that are available here in Camden County, especially the #1 county in the state of New Jersey. And to my fellow friends here from Gloucester Township, I only live 1 town away. I'm still in Runnymede. So I feel humbled to be here tonight and to be able to express my gratitude for everything that you do. I had a long day today, but I'm leaving here with hope and inspiration because of everything that I heard and learned tonight. So keep doing what you're doing and keep Gloucester Township shining. Thank you.
Well, Commissioner, thank you for coming to the #1 town in New Jersey. We appreciate you being here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank all of you for being here today. You know, this month we celebrate Black History, and we have a very proud tradition here in Gloucester Township of hosting this ceremony. And I want to congratulate each and every one of the award recipients today. Let me just say that you are an inspiration. And I love this event because I see hope for the future. As future leaders, as current leaders, you are making a difference in our Gloucester Township community. Thanks for that impact, and thank you for that inspiration. You know, I'm a firm believer that we have to, and I think we have a great community here in Gloucester Township, and we have a great community here because we embrace our differences. We respect one another, and we celebrate our differences. And that is what tonight is about. Tonight is about recognizing individuals within the African American community who are outstanding because you stand out. And so thank you once again for what you do here in Gloucester Township. I thank our council for hosting this every year, and certainly wish all of you a great rest of your evening. And certainly you know where we're at if you need anything. Thanks for the contributions though that you make to Gloucester Township. Good night.
If we can have all the recipients please come to the front. We're going to take a 10-minute recess, but we're going to have a picture. Thank you. 10-minute recess.
I have a question.
I can do that now.
It's fine, don't worry about it.
He was supposed to be here tonight, but he picked the Sixers over me.
Oh my God!
How you doing? How are you? See, your face looks familiar. Remember? Yeah. You see as your face? Yeah.
I saw your boy. He was preaching online. I saw the video. I watched the video. Oh, yeah. I just heard what he said.
Mr. Saunders, boss, man.
I'm paying well, brother. You know, I saw you the first time. I said, "That's Mr. Saunders." I was like, "Oh my God, your girl gets so big." This is her last. I was like, "That can't be what I think it is."
Everything's good. Everything's good. Everything's good. I saw your boy. I was watching the video of him online. I see him teaching. He's preaching. I seen a couple of videos of him. I live in Blackwood, yeah. My mom's in Sycamore. Williamstown. One of my sister's still is in Sycamore. But I live in Blackwood. Yeah. But I'm still in the area. It was nice. I never forget a face. Never forget a face. Something like that gotta be a Congress. I knew the last name as soon as I saw it. I knew the last.
A good memory felt like.
I remember when little. I remember she was little. Now she's grown. She's driving. There you go. So good. Wow. She got almost a perfect GPA. Wow. But that's been both of the boys have almost perfect GPA. It runs in the family, to be honest. It does. Maybe. I see you taking like everything good with you? Yeah. You got some list? Yeah, I know you before. Yeah.
Congratulations again. Very impressed. Yeah, take care. Congratulations. Thanks for all your business.
Hello. How are you? Do you remember me?
Familiar.
I used to live 14 Heather, right across the street from you. You remember?
Two brothers, this we have some.
My mom.
Yes.
Yes, that's.
I know exactly.
You weren't that little, but I don't think you were.
No, but I know exactly what you're talking
I saw
about.
you. Heels in the hair. 18. My niece just turned 14 yesterday. Oh my God. Time flies. I'm so proud of her. I really am.
Yeah,
Time
it
just
goes
flies.
by. Like, I feel like I'm still a freshman in high school.
As a freshman year,
Exactly.
I heard you got your license.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
I'm very excited. I'm so excited to drive and not the only reason to have one person in the car. So I should drive with more people. I drive with 15 people.
You been to Florida?
Yes.
That's not a little trip. That's not long.
That is one. But I can make it.
So you have a year left? You're done? Oh yeah, you're done. College? What do you think about?
Honestly, it's all over the place, but one of the schools I'm really interested in is U Chicago.
I know Taylor, she went to TC and J. They have a lot of good programs there. What do you like? What's your specialty?
Chemistry, but I want to go into dermatology.
That's different. Yeah, you got that. I was never the smart. But I'm so proud of you. Thank you for everything you did, that you've done. And oh my God, it's just time to stop.
It's good seeing you though. Yeah,
I got off work and her dad happened to get an award.
Right. It's like I'm trying to.
It was short. It was always short. I never really had long hair, but it started receding and my sister said it's gotta go. So, my sister's a barber, so she said, trust me, it's gotta go. And I've been shaving it ever since. So, I'm not going back. It's not gonna look the same if I go back. It's gonna be looking like that if I go back. We're just gonna keep shaving it. but I'm grateful. It was nice seeing you guys.
Yes, and I'll tell Son and Josiah.
I always see them on Facebook. Those boys are grown. Grown.
They are.
Jason married.
Yeah.
It still hasn't set in. I'm like, I just feel too young to have a brother that's married. You know?
Josiah, what is he? He's just what is he doing? Does he have a girlfriend yet?
No.
He's always been. He's just
like
been by
very
himself.
quiet to himself. Yep, you know.
I know. So I understand that.
Yeah. He's in Pittsburgh. Enjoying himself.
Yeah, he's trying to do grad school. He's trying to apply to different grad schools for biology.
Yeah. So we gotta ask him how he did with his test.
Because he took a test, the GRE test, and he just took that yesterday. So.
Nothing. You didn't hear nothing back yet.
I don't think so. I don't know much about it, but I guess it's like the equivalent of the MCAT for grad school.
No news is good news. So.
They're coming.
Congratulations, baby.
But it was nice seeing you.
It's nice seeing you.
It was
as well.
nice seeing you. Congratulations again, okay? Nice seeing you too, Mr. Taylor. Have a nice day. Have a nice one, okay? You guys take care.
All right, see you later.
I didn't know it. I'll talk to him. Thanks, man.
Oh, yeah. All right. Okay. Come on, Marley. Oh, see, you want to do more? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
Yeah, Ira? Yeah. No worries.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. We trying to,
I like your net. Are you good down for the work? I started going.
I worked for 2 years. No.
Oh, just, being there.
Madam Clerk, may I have the roll call, please?
Mr. Hutchison. Ms. Grace. Here. Mrs. Albright Troxel. Here. Mr. Vignano.
Here.
Mr. Mercado.
Present.
Mr. Breland.
Here.
Mr. Curtis.
Here.
Chief Harkins.
Here.
Mr. McGill.
Here. We'll now have our first public portion. This is for agenda items only. Anyone addressing council may speak one time. Once all those wishing to address council have had their turns, you may address council a second time. Each speaker is entitled to 3 minutes. There's 15 minutes for the first public portion. Once again, it is for agenda items only. If you're interested in speaking on the ordinance, there is a public hearing for those ordinance when we have our reading of it. Anyone like to speak during the first public portion? Ms. Smithman.
Good evening, council. My name is Shaughnessy Smithman. I live in the SDK Millbridge Gardens apartment complex on Millbrook Court, apartment 341. For the agenda items today, it said that for R2302069 that you're naming someone for the application for the Department of Environmental Protection, the Green Acres Grant Program.
Yes, we're approving an application.
The who, I just didn't know who, we didn't state who you were going to name.
That the mayor is permitted, authorized to make an application for a loan or a grant. And this goes to Green Acres funding in the amount of $146,630.32.
Are they gonna announce? Oh, so this was about money, it wasn't about announcing someone.
It's authorizing the township and that the mayor, in his role as the mayor of our township, is authorized to submit this application to Green Acres.
Naming an authorized official. So you're
Yes.
going to name someone who is officially in charge of the Green Acres
Yes.
program. That's what I was asking, was who?
The mayor, David R. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Also, for the R2302070, you're authorizing the signing of a contract with Virtuous Systems Incorporated for the purchase, delivery, installation, maintenance, and training support for something called a proprietary virtual de-escalation simulator, Virtua V1 LE1 for the Gloucester Township Police Department. Is what that is.
So I'm glad you brought that up because resolution 70 and 71, the numbers have to be flip-flopped because 71 talks about accepting it, that should be 70. And it's just, you have to accept it before you authorize it. Chief, you would like to speak on this?
Certainly, yeah, we were able to acquire a grant from the U.S. Department of Justice for a de-escalation. It's an officer safety wellness grant. We applied for with the help of Triad Associates, and we were granted the grant, and we are getting it's a use of force simulator. It'll be installed in our range training complex. It's a projection type system that puts officers in real as close to real world scenarios as possible for decision making, different levels of force. It's a great piece of equipment. We were really thrilled to be able to get a grant to acquire that piece of equipment at no cost to the township.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, so it just plays out different situations.
Yes.
Well, there is something electrical being installed. It looks like on Laurel Road, right near Saratoga, in the intersection as you head down Laurel Road towards the Route 30. There was a school building there made of brick. I have no idea what happened. I'm not from that area, but apparently they stopped the building, they took it down, and now it looks like there's some type of electrical installation that's about to go in. I'm not exactly quite sure what they are, even being in the field as an inside journeyman wireman. I was never involved in that, but I did notice the parts being placed there. I didn't know since I didn't know what the simulator was, I didn't know if it had anything to do in connection with whatever that large junction of electrical installation is that's being placed.
Yeah, Laurel Road is the Lindenwall borough.
These things tend to serve a greater span than just where they're located, and they seem to be coming up in different areas throughout the county that I've noticed. There was one over on Cuthbert Road in Merchantville when I lived there, and I've seen them installed at different places. I don't know what they are, but they're very strange.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Smith. Your time's up. Mr. Sweet?
Good evening, Council. Sam Sweet from Ariel.
Good evening.
With resolution 2302-69, the Green Acres, I just need clarification of this. We're getting $586,000 in the form of a $439,000 grant, matching grant. We've already spent this money though, have we not? On the
We spent capital money. We applied for money last year. We did not, we were rejected. We're now reapplying and we're modifying some of the equipment that are out at Sturbridge Oaks. And I think it's Mulberry Station.
But those Mulberry Station and that playground equipment was on last year's capital budget, I believe. And we've already ordered that and it's supposed to be delivered sometime in June.
One of them is actually installed. I believe the other one is going to be installed in June.
So that money was already spent, correct?
That doesn't preclude us from.
No, I understand that, but so now we're just getting that money. So what's gonna happen? Like, we spent that money, we borrowed the money, we spent the money that we borrowed because we got the borrowed money, correct?
Yes, it will go back into the capital budget.
It's gonna go back into the capital budget. Will that be used to pay down the loan that we took?
It may be canceled like we've done in the past.
You can't cancel debt.
You can cancel that.
No, you can't. You keep saying that debt, the debt is still there. You can pay back the debt, but you can't just cancel the debt.
Now, when it's permanently borrowed, you can cancel it by resolution before year end. Then it goes into capital fund balance, which can be appropriated in the general fund.
But debt isn't canceled. You keep saying that.
CFO sitting here. Can that be canceled?
You're canceling the appropriation to pay off the debt.
Correct.
It's not canceling the debt. The debt is still out there. So it's not whatever, Mr. Cardis. You're just whatever. It's not, you're using incorrect language, making people sound like the debt is. All right. I'm sorry. What was that?
Let's just agree to disagree.
It's not agree to disagree. You're using incorrect language.
Appreciate your time. Appreciate your time.
I don't believe my time is done.
Appreciate it.
So it's gonna be a fun meeting because I got a whole bunch of stuff with the capital budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Mr. Crew?
Evening, Council. Paul Krug, Blackwood Estates. Resolution 2302-72, advertising for bids for the police tactical robot. I could have sworn that I had seen this last year, and so I just wanted to check if maybe last year's advertising for bids fell through and now we're back at it again.
Chief?
So you're absolutely correct. We put this out for bid last year. We awarded a bid. The contractor contacted us, told us they were going out of business. They were not able to fulfill the bid. They forfeited their $6,000, I think it was $6,000 bid bond that we were held. The township cashed that, so that went in. And now we're looking for, we're prepared to go to another vendor, but to follow it, we have to go out for bid again. So yes, that order was canceled. We never received the product. So we're going out to acquire, to use the funds. I believe it was $55,000 that was appropriated out of the 2022 budget. That's what's going to be paid for. This is just giving us authorization to go out for bid with another vendor.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chief. And if I remember, this is to replace like a 12-year-old
Yes.
robot. Okay,
Correct.
great. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Seeing none, we'll close the first public portion. Ordinance, we have a second reading. There will be a public hearing. Ordinance 0-023-03. Calendar year 2023 ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. Mr. Carson, anything you want to add to that?
No, by establishing the COLA ordinance, it permits you to bank cap, which you could not do if you did not adopt this ordinance.
We'll now open up the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak on this ordinance? Mr. Polidoro.
Good evening, Council. Ray Polidoro from the Historic Village of Ariel.
Good evening.
So that a lot of people can be very clear on this because through the years, we played the word salad game of appropriations versus levy. Appropriations would be your spending or ability to spend, is that correct?
It's the amount you can appropriate.
To be able to spend of taxpayer funds. Okay, so with that being said, you're referring to in exceeding that limit, you're exceeding 3.5%, is that also correct, or thereabouts?
No, it moves it to 3.5%. Right now, it's established, I believe, at 2.5%, Christie?
Yes.
So it allows you to go 1% higher on your inside cap appropriations.
From what percent to what percent is that?
2.5 to 3.5.
Okay, so in essence, what you're doing is moving, you're adopting new spending up to a brand new level, is that correct?
Correct, but you're also allowing yourself to bank cap.
Okay, banking means to put off for another time, correct?
No, it means you retain a certain amount of money that you can use in the subsequent budget.
At a later time?
Yeah, you can retain.
Same thing.
You can retain for 2 years.
All right, so if you do this every year, you're basically in your appropriations, you're allowing for more spending. And as you exceed this every year, you're allowing for even more spending, and then you're capping that. Is that a fair assessment of what is being done here?
It allows you to appropriate more money and it allows you to establish again a bank, which I think is very important. It's most important to bank.
In the English language, that's yes, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if spending each year, we do this, and we increase spending each year, and we exceed each year, and we bank each year, doesn't spending and increasing spending lead to greater taxation later on? I mean, if we can't control our spending, you'll never be able to control the increase in taxes, except for years like this, odd number years, even number of years you do what you have to do. So you'll have a balanced budget this year because it's the right year for that. Next year, because if we keep doing this,
I don't know that.
well, yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do. Look at it. Listen, I don't need to argue with you on that. You have plainly, this council has plainly shown what years you increase taxes and what year you don't. Yeah, I'll bet you a dozen McMillan Donuts that you will not increase taxes this year. Next year is what I'm afraid of. And this spending habit of yours and taxing habit is going to be devastating to the people. There's not going to be many left. You know, if you're not wealthy, you're not going to be able to pay your taxes here much anymore. It's getting ridiculous for the homes that we own. And it starts here with spending. It starts with spending. If you don't do this, what's the worst that happens? What's the worst thing that could happen if you don't do this tonight?
I recommend the council does.
No. I'm asking, okay, let's see what council's knowledge is. What do you think happens, council, that you'll be voting on tonight? What do you think is going to happen if this doesn't get passed? Does anybody even know? Who else besides Mr. Hutchinson and Mr. Mercado knows what will happen if this doesn't get passed tonight?
Mr. Baldor, we're not doing a polling of.
Well, you're representatives of government. I'm asking if you know what you're passing tonight. It's not a poll.
Mr. Baldor, please continue with your comments.
I'm continuing by asking other council members if they know what will happen if they don't pass this
Someone like
tonight.
to answer, they can answer, but you're supposed
Are-
to direct
are-
all your questions to
Mr.
myself.
Mercado, I still have time. And if
I'm not telling you you're done.
And if you and Mr. Hutchison are the only ones that know, you're not willing to let the other council speak on what their knowledge is, if they don't pass this tonight, what will happen? Would you invite them to speak on it?
If they wish to speak, they can, but I'm not taking a polling of council here. We're not doing that.
That's what I thought democracy was. I'm sorry. No one wants to add to that. I would really, I didn't think so. I would really take a good look at every time, every year, you increase spending and cap and continue to do what you're doing. In 2024, you're going to crush the people of this township. Bigger than you have in 14, 16, 18, during the pandemic in 20, and last year you increased taxes almost 10%. And if you don't stop spending, you'll never be able to stop the taxing. I really appreciate other council members not weighing in on this. We really do count on all 6 of you to know what you're voting on. And I don't see it. Mr. Cardis, I appreciate your back and forth with me. Everyone have a good night. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Mr. Krug.
Evening again, Council. Paul Krug, Blackwood Estates. Just to put some numbers to the dialogue Ray just had with you, especially with regard to the step up in municipal budget. I go back and I review a 20-year history because government happens slowly over long periods of time. And so the latest updated data with the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs was last year's budget, so 2021. So 20 years back from there would be 2001. 2001, the municipal levy on the citizens of Gloucester Township was $14,987,856. Last year, that levy was $54,235,952. Once again, as reported to the state from the township. That's a $40 million increase in 20 years, or 262%. And if you break that down on a yearly basis over that time, that's 13% a year. So you can see when Ray's talking about the laddering effect or the step up when we continue to operate under the same means, how that adds up over time. I ask you to please take a look at the data. The newjersey.gov website has great visualization tools and Excel spreadsheets to help visualize the pattern that has happened over a 20-year period in this township with regard to the municipal levy. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Ms. Grace?
Yes.
Mrs. Albright Troxel?
Yes.
Mr. Mignon?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes. Ordinance 0-23-04, there will be a public hearing. Bond ordinance authorizing the completion of various capital improvements and the acquisition of various pieces of capital equipment in and for the township of Gloucester, county of Camden, New Jersey, appropriating the sum of $7,464,600, therefore authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds or bond anticipation notes of the township of Gloucester, county of Camden, New Jersey, in the aggregate principal amount of up to $7,091,370, making certain determination and covenants and authorizing certain related actions in connections with the foregoing. This capital budget calls for the reconstruction, repaving of various sidewalks and curbs, various streets throughout the town, drainage improvements, improvement and upgrades to parks, recreational facilities, improvements to various township buildings, acquisition of heavy equipment for the police, public works department, acquisition of various vehicles and equipment for the public works department, improvement of compost and recycling complex, equipment for parks and rec department, acquisition of communication, computer, office equipment for the township, acquisition of various equipment for the police department, body armor, ticketing, IT equipment, and vehicles. I'll now open up the public portion. Anyone wish to speak? Mr. Sweet. Mr. Sweet, as a reminder, you have 5 minutes. If someone wants to speak after you, I'll go to that person. If no one does, then you'll continue.
All right.
Another 5 minutes.
Thank you. Sam Sweet from Ariel again, Council. I guess my first question would be, were any questions, did any of the council members ask any questions about the capital budget?
I did. I have a list of questions.
Would you like to share them with us?
Absolutely. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay.
Can we stop the
I'm gonna
clock?
take up, no, you're asking
Okay,
questions.
that's fine.
No,
It's unlimited time. I can keep coming back, correct?
Sure.
Okay.
So, there are some questions I had under, Project B on the capital budget for street improvements. $150,000 was allocated for various asphalt, paving projects. So I asked, so I have 10 questions that I asked Mr. Curtis. Please provide me with the costs and the areas that were addressed last year. I was interested in what was addressed last year. So, for those street improvements, bear with me. Price, 1011 Price Avenue, there was asphalt, mill and pavement. I got a lot of stuff here, Sam, so you want me to keep going through? Okay. 41 Cambridge, there was Sawwood and Devlin at the intersection, asphalt 11 Prospect Court, asphalt at Hall, the asphalt intersection at Cameron Court and multiple circles in Cameron Circle, 61 Sherbrooke in front of their driveway, 15 and 17 Dresden Court, paved in front of their driveway, Maple Ave Dirt Road near the NUA and asphalt at the end of the road, 12 Sandstone and repavement in front of the driveway, Trace Drive and Glendora asphalt door New Curry, Carroll Ave and Blackwood asphalt next to New Kirby, Glen Burnie, the southern end of town, asphalt along the side of the curb, Holland Avenue, asphalt for New Kirby, Estelle and Blackwood Estates, asphalt curbing, 23 and 25 Sawgrass asphalt to the box and repair top row, cut out route to the walking path at Hicksdown Park and repave sections, Conestoga in front of driveways, Glendora VFW paved the lot and installed curbing because it's township owned. That was $40,000 there. Catalina Hills ball field parking lot full construction, $20,000, and 33 Wilson Avenue sinking road repaving. That's just the first question I asked.
How many questions?
I asked 10 questions.
Okay,
So you want to know what I asked?
no, I'm just, if I may interrupt, that list you gave us, those were last year's projects?
Yes, I was interested in knowing what we spent, what projects we worked on last year, because if they were basing these capital project numbers, I wanted to make sure that the money that we I had put in our budget last year, we expended that money on projects. So I was using that to see, okay, are the numbers, are they just putting some numbers out there, or are we actually doing these projects? So would you like me to continue to my second question?
Sure.
Okay. Project C, drainage improvements, $150,000 was allocated. My question to the business administrator is please provide me with the costs and areas addressed from last year. So 2022 drainage projects, and I have 2 pages here. Okay, 36 Cedar Grove storm box, Kelly Driver manhole, box in the yard, Little Mill Road and Hicksdown Road on the corner. There was some box work that was done. Little Mill Road, box work and asphalt. Valley Brook Court at the corner storm box, Timber Creek box work. It was clean in front of the head of the retention pond. Wood Lane box work and hot patch low spot. Jefferson and Kenny had a sinkhole. That box work was done. Front Street and Rowan and Glendora storm box work needs curb. Jamie Court, I believe that's in Cherrywood, Merrimack pipe concrete. The Kiwanis, they had a storm box near first base at the baseball complex. Box work near Old Friendlies at the Island Mill Bridge. Lower concrete on top of the water main at the hall for maintenance. Juniper Court, mill and pave. 516 Pasadena and Catalina Hills, curb patching. Roosevelt and Princeton, box work in Glen Oaks. Add asphalt curb at the end of Drexel to stop water from laying in the backyards of Hillcrest and Blackwood Estates, Southgate Island, Lightbox Works in Glendora, Storm Box in front of the Public Works Building, Williamsburg, to install a pump at 1714 House, 10 Spring Ridge. There's a lot you want to keep continuing.
I'm wondering if any other council members have asked questions about it.
Oh, so you don't want me to?
No, I do want to hear your questions as well. I just wanted to know if any other council members.
I don't know. Does anyone want to answer? Does anyone ask any questions? No. Capital budget.
And those projects you listed, those are again last year's for the drainage?
Yes, that was the question I asked. So
Okay, were they all completed?
Yes, these are completed projects that were done under that $150,000.
Okay.
So I'll continue, but we'll have to go see if anyone wants to speak because your 5 minutes is up. Does anyone like to speak on the capital budget? Ms. Smith? Mr. Sweet, you can come back up again. After everyone who has spoken on this, you can come back up.
Hello, good evening, council. My name is Shauna C. Smithen. I live in the SDK Millbridge Gardens apartment complex on
Good evening
Millville
again,
Court,
Ms.
apartment 341. I only had a question about, it was a technical question. It said the February 13th, 2023. It was actually for ordinance 02304 and 2305, which I know that that's not what you're speaking of right now, but for both of them, the day was February 13th, 2023. Was that just incorrect, or is this the ones posted on the wall there?
February 13th was the first day they were introduced.
Oh, I didn't see anything with today's date on it, which is when they.
So it'll have the introduction date, and then at the end of it, it will have the date that it was.
Which would be the 27th of February today,
Excuse me?
which would be the 27th of February.
27th. So as introduction, February 13th, and then adoption, if it's adopted this evening, it'll be the 27th.
Previously, when I read the ordinances, it also had the date of adoption on there also. I didn't see it this time. I didn't know if it was just a technical error.
All right, thanks. Anyone else? Mr. Sweet? Would you like me to continue?
Yes, please.
Okay. Question 3, Project F, buildings, $200,000 was allocated. My question to the business administrator was, please provide me with buildings and the areas that will be addressed. Buildings, $200,000, $100,000 to replace boilers at Public Works. This came from his supervisor. He had $300,000 from the past budget. The quote for the 2 boilers is a little over $400,000. I also have 48 other buildings, 20 of them are over 30 years old. A lot of the township older buildings need to be brought up to today's codes. The salt shed, which is question number 4 I had, that was allocated for $175,000. There are major tears in that cannot be fixed. The warranty on that was 15 years. So that was my question 3 and 4. Let's see, bear with me. Question 5 was Project F for the Point Ariel Park front door. There was an acronym of PAP. I said, what is that? We use a lot of acronyms in government. Point Ariel Park building. So that is for a front door. My question number 6 for Project G. There was recycling carts. The recycling carts, are we responsible for this under the global agreement? That was my question, Mr. Cardis. The recycling carts are for the residents. We're running out of carts. There is a question from Glenn Engelbert, who is a supervisor for the MUA, and that is under the global agreement. Yes.
The recycling carts, are those the recycle carts that are put outside of the house?
Yes.
The pink cans?
Yes.
All right.
Question number 7 and 8. Project J for the VOIP, $60,000. The question I had is this for the hall and public works buildings, and when was the last time we upgraded this? So the phone project is to replace current phones and back-end equipment. The current phone system is no longer viable or supported by the manufacturer. Some phones are over 10 years old, and we cannot replace failing phones since they're no longer manufactured. The added benefit of a VoIP, voice over internet protocol system, is clear voice quality, lower long-term costs, service mobility, higher scalability, higher compatibility with different phone manufacturers. Most important, it's a long-term supported platform. My second question, as far as when's the last time it was upgraded, so we have a SDL, or Spatial Data Logic, which is a municipal management software platform. I'm sorry, that's my next question. Project D. Project J is the SDL system. Please explain the software. So SDL is a municipal management software platform that provides an efficient method for residents and municipality to communicate. Residents will be able to submit public work requests, schedule inspections, report concerns, request permits, or request or renew pet licenses. The software has the ability for residents to monitor progress of their submitted permits and applications online. The residents will have access to a web portal that will show related information, thus saving a trip to the hall or phone call. Staff will be able to access information in real time. It'll allow tasks to be streamlined, complete reports, access records, applications, inspections, service requests, document work, and track labor. Those questions were provided by the Director of IT. Bear with me. Project J, which my question was on, Tom, I don't have that, about the filing cabinets. Should I do it? Well, I don't have it. Oh, that's it. Is that it? How many will be acquired? So it's 9 units, okay, and main file shelving, permit area, the plan review, the printer wall components, zoning office room. So that, I asked for that. And lastly, Project J, under the capital budget, a codification project. I said, please explain what this is. I have an idea, but I need an explanation. In reference to the codification project, the purpose of this is to update the code book by compiling legislation as code and non-code material. Some things have been repealed or superseded, provisions are eliminated, and the amendments are inserted as necessary. The code book will then be accessible to the public online. And I believe, Madam Clerk, that's something through your office, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, okay. Does anyone else would like to speak on this ordinance? Mr. Sweet, you have another 5 minutes. So those are my 10 questions that I asked. I sent that to the business administrator 2 weeks ago, and those answers were provided to me.
Okay. And you're okay with the answers that he gave you?
Yes.
And nobody else had any questions?
I do not know.
My concerns were addressed by Mr. Clark.
And what were your concerns? You don't remember what they were?
They were addressed.
So, there's a saying that if,
No, I don't care what you're saying. I really don't. You can go on.
that's a little,
I danced with you a number of times like this. I'm not gonna do it again.
it's not dancing, it's actually asking questions, Mr. Hutchinson. All right, which I'm allowed to do, and I find it hard to believe that you asked the question, didn't write it down, especially being a lawyer, in an email or anything like that, and then don't remember what you asked. So then if you don't remember what you asked, was it really asked in the first place? Okay, well, you as a lawyer should know that.
You've done that.
You as a lawyer should know that. So,
Mr. Hutchinson, Mr. Sweet, can we stop the back and forth? Please ask your question.
all right, so we're going to borrow $250,000 for design and $25,000 for inspection of Kearsley Road. What's going on in Kearsley Road?
Kearsley Road is, I think that's on a NJDOT. Is that part of NJDOT? It was recommended, the engineers keep a list of all the streets, and they keep them in order of condition. So we were looking at a rather lengthy list of streets and narrowed it down to these streets.
Okay, so what's going to happen on Kearsley Road?
I believe what it is it's already been paved up to a certain point. Recently it was paved. I don't recall on whether it was we're gonna finish the section. We're gonna finish the section. Right. We're gonna take it all the way out to Cross Keys Road.
Okay, because last year we were told Kearsley Road was completed.
I didn't see.
on the last year's budget, it said completed Kearsley Road, because we borrowed 180,000. And there's this addition that you're saying that it is, there's no engineering design, so are we not paying for an engineering design for Kearsley Road?
I think we have already.
But that was on last year's budget, so we spent 180,000.
What's in here is just the inspection, so we've already,
No, actually, what's on here is 250,000 for construction acquisition,
and then it says 25,000.
25,000 for engineering inspection.
Doesn't
There's
say
no,
anything for design.
I understand that. That's my
Design
question.
Last year.
Okay, but last year's was design, construction, and inspection of 180,000. So if we spent 180,000, and then I just asked what we're spending 250 on, and now we're lengthening it, we're increasing the project.
We're taking it out to. Cross
Okay, so you're taking it out to Cross Keys Road, so that was not originally planned, so Remington Vernix not designing that road, or they already designed it, and then now shouldn't we have borrowed the 430 last year?
Look, I know we're finishing the road, and we're gonna take it out to Cross Keys. It's not in very good condition.
That's not answering my question.
We're designing the remaining portion of this year's road program. Our design fee is part of that inspection will fall.
So the design fee was already charged, or as part of the Kearsley Road? It looks like there's two parts of Kearsley Road. We borrowed it for last year, but we were on your budget that you produced. It says complete for Kearsley Road, completed.
I don't have it.
So now we're coming back and asking for another $250,000.
We're gonna complete the road.
So it was always planned to complete the road, is what I'm guessing I'm getting at here.
I'm assuming it was done in fragments. I don't know. I mean, you could have easily emailed me any of your questions like you did have done in the past, but you choose to use the element of surprise.
It's not the element of surprise. These are questions. You know I'm going to come with questions on
I will
there.
have to get back to you.
Of course you will.
Yes.
How do we come up with the estimate for the engineering inspection amounts?
What's that?
The inspection engineering,
That's given to us by the engineer.
okay, but how do we come up, like, how does he base it on hours? Like, how is that determined? Percentage of the total construction cost? Do we know that percentage?
Usually it's around 10%, I'd say, we're taking here, so just want to give that verbatim, but typically around 10%.
Mr. Sweet, hold on. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this ordinance? Mr. Sweet, you have another 5 minutes.
In 2022, we borrowed 150,000 for the Public Works old garage. What improvements were made with that money? And why are we borrowing an additional 150,000 this year?
Because there's a lot more that needs to be done with that. That has not, the building has not taken place yet. Construction has not taken place yet.
When you say construction, well, like they're for improvements. So we're improving it, or we raising the building and then rebuilding it?
No, we're gonna shore up what is there. And there's concerns about, the structural situation with that building. So we need to do that soon.
So will there be another 150,000 next year on that?
No, I believe this is.
So 300,000, so that's being completed. And
I believe this also covers the roof, because right now the roof is leaking.
all right. With that, you said though, the building hasn't started. So we borrowed 150,000 last year and haven't done anything with that?
They have not.
Okay. How many recycling trucks do we need in the township?
Wow.
Yes, anyway, guys, I'll tell you the condition of some of those recycling trucks.
First off, it takes almost two
Takes
and a half
2
years to get a truck.
And fellas, if you know, I took a tour of it back in the summer when the chairman talked about the condition of it. I think that there was 3 that are running, but 2 that one's kind of shoddy.
Kind of like back and forth. We have a couple that are dealing with repairs, but it's kind of, I can't speak much to it, but I know there are a few trucks that are in and out with repairs.
So I'm gonna go, like, there's two that are actively working and then one that's a little bit older. But one of the concerns when, the chairman of the MUA had a conversation with me about securing, as part of our global agreement, vehicles for them, is that you're looking at a 18 to maybe 24-month lag time to get that particular,
Work towards 24 months.
truck or vehicle.
The reason I'm asking is just, I know that the township is staggered, like Mondays, one side of the township gets recycles, Tuesdays, another side. So I'm not saying we only need one truck. I was just asking because we borrowed in 2017, 275,000 for a truck. In 21, we borrowed 315. In 22, we borrowed 340, and now we're scheduled to borrow 390. I realize pricing is going up. Do we plan on borrowing any more for additional trucks going in 24? Like, how many, like, that's why I'm asking, how many recycling trucks do we need? How many recycling trucks do we have? We're being told that some are in and out. Are we looking at replacing another one in 24?
It's possible. Possible.
So we don't know for sure.
I have not thought about 24 right now.
We check into that. And you ask a question, you can check into it beforehand, but check into it.
I do know a couple of.
I would think that we'd be looking into it and trying to budget it going forward and saying, we have 6 trucks, 2 of them on our last legs. We need to replace those. Yes, we're not gonna go 2 in a row, our 2 in 23. So yes, we're gonna borrow 1 in 23, 1 in 24. I would think that would already be known, not something to surprise on. Thank you, Mr. Hutchinson. My next question is going with, my first question is the e-ticket machines. On the police budget. That's, I'm assuming, the portable tickets for the police?
Yep.
For the police cars? Does every police car have one? Like, how does that work?
Every patrol car that's out on patrol has one.
And how many would that be? The reason I'm asking is, again,
We're replacing the 16 that were purchased in 2008 that are going bad.
okay, because we replaced, in 21, we had a replacement for 14,000. 22, we had a replacement for 16,000. This year, we're replacing another 6 for 16,000.
That should replace all of them.
So going forward, then we won't have to replace them for another 5-10 years?
That's our hope, yeah.
Okay, so these are all
This
replacing,
last batch is from 2008 purchase. The prior year was from 2007, the prior year was from 2006.
okay. Thank you.
Mr. Sweet, before you continue, is there anyone else who would like to speak on this capital ordinance? Mr. Sweet, you have another 5 minutes.
With regards to police cars, has there ever been a study done on, well, one, can we lease police cars instead of purchasing them outright?
Mr. Hutchinson, would you like to address that?
Chief Smith, we revisited with Chief Earl, briefly spoke about it with the Chief Parkins. What we're currently doing is what Paul recommended that we do. I think back in the day with Chief Smith, he actually may have given us a study.
The reason I asked Mr. Hutchinson is because Mr. Hutchinson at the time had brought that up when he first got on council.
I was a proponent of different things.
Could you speak into the mic? People said they can't hear you.
Okay.
But you're not doing it.
Okay.
Please don't yell out.
Ms. President Mercado, people in the audience would like to hear Mr. Hutchinson's
I
answer.
don't know, I can't have people yelling out.
I understand that. I understand that, but
So you
can we
asked
ask him?
You asked him and he'll eventually move forward, okay?
He's not though. That's so just.
If you want to continue with your.
I do. So my question is, I know we've looked into it.
Chief leaning forward, Chief.
So the way we've been doing it, we're getting, when we do capital budgeting, we expect to get 5 years out of a car. On average, unless the car gets into a wreck or damage, Gloucester Township is getting the use out of, Tom, I think we calculated 7 to 8 years out of a car or longer. I still have some, 2010 cars that are still in service, several, and they're going to go out of service from the police department. They're going to be passed on to the community development. So we are getting long-term. We would lose that ability. Every department would then have to be in leasing cars eventually and whatnot. We would not be able to pass them down to the law. Currently, Public Works uses them, code enforcement uses them, the community development uses them. My staff, non-patrol, use them, our detectives and whatnot. So we're getting a great deal of longevity from each car, and that's how we deem to get the most bang out of the buck. And that's been my recommendation.
Okay, all right, thank you, Chief.
Yep.
The Axon BWC payment is, the amount's going up. When we asked about that, when it first originally hit, believe the payment was supposed to be spread out equally over 5 years?
We'll defer to the chief.
So we've had to increase the number of body worn cameras. When the Attorney General's office first mandated it, it was only officers that were on patrol. That has since changed. I have to equip all detectives now, myself with one, everyone. So and I don't quote me on the numbers, where we may have had only 80 of these body worn cameras. I have to have one for every officer now. With that, the way it works, you have to have an account for uploading capability and whatnot. So that has increased the subscription price, which has been the price that's gone up. Our intention was to spread it over the 5 years, but as we've had to increase the number that we've had, that has increased the payment.
Okay, so circumstances have changed and
That's
it
correct.
increased usage.
Yes, and we didn't have to pay in the past. We've just tacked on that cost to the remaining amount for the years.
All right, thank you. In 2022, we borrowed $90,000 for a VoIP system. We're now borrowing $60,000 for VoIP phones. Did the VoIP system not come with phones? That's my first question with that.
No, I don't believe we had enough money to complete the project. And that's why we have more money in this budget.
Okay, so, but the VoIP, that 90,000 did not include phones?
I would have to look at that, see if we get back and see what it says. I don't have that
And
information.
is the VoIP system installed?
No.
So when would we plan on getting that VoIP system installed?
When this ordinance takes effect.
But we borrowed $90,000 last year
It's not enough to complete.
for a VoIP system that wasn't installed.
You underestimated the cost of the project.
But we still didn't get the VoIP system.
We did not. We're gonna get it this year.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to make sure. Orlando, thank you for asking about the management software. Vertical file cabinets, you said there were 9 units.
9.
9?
That's, yes.
How big is a unit? If you don't mind, like, is it, to me, $75,000 for vertical filing cabinets when everything is going paperless. And 9 units, I'm thinking 9 vertical file cabinets, that seems awful pricey. So does a unit constitute more?
Let's just finish this question.
Yeah, so, I mean, there are documents up there that have to be kept in paper. You cannot get rid of a building inspection, approved building inspection, building permit, they have to be maintained. What my observation is we have a whole bunch of bankers boxes up there in community development. It's even hard to get around in that office. So when Vince asked for the filing system, similar to what we have in tax assessor's office, because every property has to have a folder. You can't just put it all online. It has to have a physical folder. So with that, we recognize the need for this filing system. And as I understand it, it's one of the moving filing systems that slides back and forth, and then you can put stuff behind it and behind that.
Okay, so it's not just a one file cabinet, like,
Oh, no.
oh, that's what I was asking.
System.
When he said 9 units, how big are the units?
No, it's a system.
Okay, all right, and those papers,
Before you continue, Mr. Sweet, is there anyone else who would like to speak on this ordinance? I just want to make one more statement before I let you continue. There is a second public portion for those that had received a notification regarding the warehouse in the southern end of town. We will address that on the second public portion. but we have to complete our public hearing here. It's public hearing for an ordinance is unlimited. So, there will be a public portion for anyone who wants to talk about that mailing that was sent out. And we'll address it at that time, but we have to go through our ordinance as a hearing is unlimited, so. Chief?
Can I make a correction? I want to correct because I just asked the staff member about the e-ticketing machine to get you the right data. So that we have a total of 46 e-ticketing printers. All were purchased in 2008. The cost of each is about $1,000. There's no licensing fee. We've been pretty much running them until they don't run anymore. So we don't anticipate, over the last 3 years, we've done it gradually, because some get used more than others. Traffic unit that issued more tickets, we've been rotating them and whatnot. So we anticipate them to be covered for the remainder, for the long term. This printer should last.
Okay, thank you. Codification project. Oh, to get back to your point, some of these papers, we have to keep hard copies of the paper. We can't scan them in and have access to that.
You have to maintain hard copies. Certain items, through, and clerk will tell you, the records management, you must maintain hard copies.
Okay, all right. Why aren't we using the NGEIT like we have in the past? We used it for 2016, 2017, 19, 21, and 22. We've averaged $996,000 through that NGEIT program, which reduces the amount that we have to borrow. How come we're not utilizing that?
If we did do that, we would do it by a separate ordinance. It wouldn't be part of this ordinance.
Okay, so does that mean there's other projects that aren't on this project list that we may do?
Right now, I don't know of any. It would be drainage projects.
So, but right now, there are no projects that are requiring the EI, New Jersey EIT is what you're saying?
Correct.
Where in the past that we've used them?
That is correct.
Okay. I'm gonna go back to, we're looking at weed whackers and hedge clippers again and blowers. And I know that we go back and forth on this, Mr. Cardis, but a weed whacker is $350. We're ordering 5 of them. Why are we capitalizing them again? And I know the state says we can because it's a 5-year useful life, but we've, going back to 17. But just because the state says we can do it doesn't mean, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't.
We're getting more than 5 years out of all this equipment. This is industrial space size equipment. This is not the stuff you go and buy at Home Depot.
So if I were to go to Public Works tomorrow morning, I could count 30 weed whackers and 14 blowers.
You might, I don't know. Could have been.
What do you mean I might? You just said that they're lasting over 5 years. So in the last 5 years, that's what we have borrowed for.
I will check.
Okay, so we need 30 weed whackers and 14 blowers. Right, and the problem with this is we're borrowing for a $350 weed whacker, which traditionally goes 3 years on an interest-free note or bond anticipatory note, which is not interest-free, interest only. So the principal doesn't go down, and then we bond it after we go through about 3 or 4 of these to a tune of a $28 to $35 million bond, which then pays out for 10 years. So for that $350 weed whacker that we're borrowing for now, won't be paid off until my daughter's getting married at some point, maybe. All right, but at 28 years old, that's when that weed whacker will be paid off. And yes, in the grand scheme of things, that $350 weed whacker will cost $700. Not outlandish, but it's still doubling the price of something that we could obviously not bond, not borrow for, just expend it. You can't tell me that with the amount of taxes that we're paying, that we have we can't afford $350 for a weed whacker or $1,650 for 5 of them. It doesn't make any sense. And I will stand up here every budget meeting and say, Mr. Cardis can say I have my answer, but it doesn't make any sense. It's not good cash management. And I don't understand why nobody up in council questions that as well. In addition,
Sam, you're not aware if anyone on council questioned that. You don't think people answer questions?
you asked the question, but I specifically asked.
We don't ask questions.
Sam, I asked the question about the weed whackers this year, because I anticipate you asking that question as you've done the previous years.
But why are we borrowing for something so small. And it's costing us money, costing the residents money, costing the township money, because as we've said several times, increased debt increases taxes. As our debt payments go up and they're outside of the 2% cap, then our real estate taxes go up because we have to pay the debt, because we can't not pay the debt, because that would affect our bond rating, which God forbid we affect our bond rating according to Mr. Cardis. But the bottom line is we're increasing debt, increasing taxes, and it's not stopping for something so small as a weed whacker or a leaf blower. Not saying we don't need them, but and as far as finding the money, I went through from 2015 a variety. I just haphazardly picked a variety of.
1 second. Does anyone like, Ms. Smithman would like to speak? You can take a seat, Mr. Smith. Ms. Smith, I want to remind you, this is about the ordinance and the capital budget.
Hello, Council. My name is Shauna C. Smithman. I live in the SDK Millbridge Gardens apartment complex, Millbrook Court, apartment 341. I was at this meeting last year for the budget. A lot of the questions are continuing. I'm still in the learning process. I apologize for my ignorance. Did I miss one of the meetings where we could actually have where there was like a discussion for different options, or is this the only public hearing for this? Because the things that I'm hearing that are being spoken about, there was a lot of different opinions brought up at the previous budget last year, such as for the purchase of these maintenance equipments. Is there any type of negotiation where it can be changed at all to possibly place the money that is going to be used to purchase additional maintenance equipment, such as weed whackers, into a bond to repair the ones that you have already? Like, would the state approve that? Is this ordinance up for a negotiation of how the funds are being used, or was it just a question, the money that's been presented for the budget?
So, first I want to make sure we're on the same page.
Bring up new ideas.
And so we have a capital budget for these projects, road improvements, vehicles, the stuff that we're talking about today. And then we have an operating budget for the township that gets introduced probably in April.
Yeah, I'm following that part.
And then gets approved sometime in May. So your questions regarding this.
Well, whether or not to approve this ordinance, is there any type of negotiation, or is it just a question how it's already been written?
I guess you would, and I don't want to speak for Mr. Sweet, he's questioning about the things that are in there. And as anyone's entitled to question what's in that capital budget. There's questions that my colleagues and myself ask of the business administrator. When the business administrator sits down along with the mayor, administration for town, and they meet with department heads, there's requests. Now, this is a $7 million, 7.1 capital budget, but those requests exceeded over $10 million. So they pare it down. So there's negotiations that are taking place beforehand, and then this is provided to us. We have questions. We may say, you know what, maybe we don't want the weed whackers in there. Why do we have weed whackers in there? So those questions are asked, and Mr. Carson provide answers.
To not only challenge the questions of the purchases, is it permitted to give alternatives for it to maybe satisfy the anxiety of overspending? Could it be placed into a bond to just maintenance the equipment? Can it be rewritten at all? Is that anything that the council's even up as an option for the different opinions or ideas that might come from the members of the community this evening? Since it is a lengthy meeting, I remember this one from last year. Is that even an option for the council members to take different things such as that? To reroute the money that's being requested for the budget. I mean,
you asked me a question, and you wanted to respond, so I'm sorry, I'm trying to respond, and you. Okay. But like she said, can we amend it on the fly?
You can amend it on the fly.
But-
Right.
Usually, the administration sits down, the business administrator sits down with the departments and starts going through the process. putting together capital projects. They have regular meetings with the engineering for streets and they go through a process. And that's how eventually it formulates in common pressure. Wrong, that eventually formulates in the upcoming capital projects. And we're going to bond. So that's where that conversation takes place. And then they put it together. And submit it to the government.
But what Ms. Smith
The
was
questions that
saying,
are
can
coming.
we change that
The
here
questions
right
that are
now?
coming up about all the
Am I
individual.
correct?
Is it at all can it be altered at all before it's approved, or is there a separate meeting? Since these are such lengthy meetings.
Yes.
You
That's-
can, when time goes on too far, you can table
I
this.
knew the answer, I just wasn't, you know.
The anxiety is the same as it
Say
was from
Ms.
the previous budget. I mean,
Ms.
it sounds like an overspending and
Ms.
it's gonna
Smith,
be at all
You keep
possible.
stepping over us. When I'm trying to answer a question, you're stepping over me, okay? Yes, please continue.
Is it at all possible to just change the wording at all? Because the anxiety is real, like of not wanting to overspend, not wanting to overpurchase. Is it possible, since they are the same questions, there was no meeting in between to add these additional options, like rather than saying the state allows you to purchase these items, can you alter it at all to say for the following year, even if it's to prepare for next year, say next year we'll make it an option that you can also put, if you don't use it to purchase equipment that you don't need, you can use the funds to maintenance the equipment you already have. So,
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this? Mr. Crew?
Evening again, council. I almost forgot. The COVID funds, 3.6 million, I believe could be earmarked for capital budget. Did we consider using them?
I believe that's going into our operating for the next year's budget, for this year's budget that we're crafting, well, administration's putting together.
Okay. The answer is no, we're not considering using it for the capital projects. And it's gonna be used for operating budget to offset. Okay. Capital improvements was a permitted use from the federal government for those funds, correct? Okay. I guess, can I ask what was behind the decision that those funds were more efficiently or have been decided to more efficiently be used for the operating budget as opposed to the capital budget? What was the decision points behind that?
Try to keep the amount that we raised by taxation down. So we would not have a big tax increase.
Okay. I guess to Sam's point, isn't bonding the capital improvement budget, which is taking out debt, still going to increase taxes over a long period of time?
We tried to keep it even, stabilize it, so it stays basically the same. It does not have a spike effect.
All right. So basically, an alternative analysis has been done using those funds for operating budget versus capital improvements, and there's more value to the citizens in tax savings to use it for the operating budget. That was the conclusion.
That was a decision.
Okay.
Paul, if I can just weigh in, Council President.
Yes.
So over the years, we have had the same exact discussion. It's like groundhog day, okay? And in the past, I have taken the position that if an item has a useful life, let's just be extreme here, 2 years. Is it appropriate to expense it in the first year? That's an extreme example. My theory is if you have a useful life of 5 years on one item and 10 years on another item and longer possibly on another item, you have a blended effect. When you bond, you take the good and the bad. The 5 gets a longer, it's paid back over a longer period of time, and the 10 is paid off. So it's, Tom, am I correct in this kind of analysis?
It's a formulated calculation of weighted average
And
useful life.
my real concern is this. I don't want a lot of discretion in this process when it comes to decisions on paying for something out of cash this year. Do the same thing year in and year out. That's what I want. I want consistency. Now, obviously, it's not my budget. It's not presented to me yet. But with regard to the COVID funds, we discussed that last year. I did not want to see the administration utilize that in such a way as to, have more of a benefit in 1 year, like throw everything into this year. Okay, I didn't want to break it up into 2 years, use half last year, half this year, no games. Okay, that's what I was.
Yeah, I think I quoted 3.6 in my dialogue. I think 3.6 was last year. I guess I'm not a bond expert, but I would support your theory, let's say over the past decade when interest rates were low, that potentially diversifying or blending in a low interest rate environment to pay off makes sense. But I think that has changed. And once again, I'm no bond expert. I don't even think I know the interest rates off the top of my head, but I certainly know that interest rates are going up. And so this is more expensive debt that we're currently taking on. So at I don't know the exact number, 7.6, I think we're about to bond. If we could cut that in half, then I think that may be more beneficial to the Gloucester Township citizen over the mid to long term, I guess would be my thought. That's why I was asking about the analysis, what would be most beneficial to the citizen?
And I'm listening to you, and with the interest rates changing as they have, I think that there may be discussions on how to do things differently. Because it's gonna, back in the 80s, I don't know if you were around back then.
Was born in 87, so probably don't have any
My
insight.
father owned a mortgage company, and interest rates went through the roof, okay, and things were different back then. So maybe we're entering that phase again.
Yeah, so maybe just with that, I would ask that council and the administration, since the environment has changed significantly with the Fed raising rates very quickly, maybe we take a look at what would be most beneficial with that 3.6 in this instance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Krug. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this ordinance? Mr. Sweet. Mr. Sweet, I'm just going to ask, I know there's people in the audience that would like to speak in the second public portion. Do you have much more?
No.
Okay.
Couple quick points. To Ms. Smithson's point, not maybe adjusting the capital budget on the fly, but this would have been a perfect time for a workshop meeting. You guys always seem to cancel the workshop meeting when we have something like this.
No, this meeting, I'll tell you why. We weren't going to have a quorum for that workshop. So that's why that meeting was canceled. I was aware that we had one member that was out of town, one member that was ill. I was not available, and Mr. Hutchinson was running late as well. We were not going to have a quorum.
Okay,
That's
but
why it was canceled. I knew about that on Thursday, prior
Okay.
to the meeting.
but that would be a good time to bring these points up at the workshop meeting as well. Okay. Getting back to my point, with Mr. Hutchinson, he said he likes consistency and a blended rate. Whether it's blended or not, you're still extending it out over X number of years for something so small. And I know we're going to agree to disagree. It just doesn't make any sense. And if you guys can't see that, you're spending our money haphazardly a little bit, which brings me to my next point is I went through and I've been opening several things on the capital budget asking for invoices. And even in this conversation,
No, I'm not aware of that, but go ahead.
I sent them to you
When?
in like October, November, you asked for those?
Oh,
Yes, so,
I'm sorry.
and I went through, didn't ask for the roads purposely. I wanted to look, for fuel tanks, blowers, paint caps, windows, repairs, everything else. And I ended up over the course of 7 years, asked for $3.6 million in invoices
and was only provided $1.8 million of expenditures. So you guys are over borrowed by 50% in that little window, I guess, that little small sample. I'm sure it gets much worse, but like, for instance, you wanted to redo the sheds and the wall and the roof over at Blackwood, Kiwanis, and you borrowed $25,000 and only spent $4,200 on it. So you overborrowed by $25,000. We borrowed gas tanks, new gas tanks, phase 2 last year. That's not been done. The outside building paint at Gabriel's Tavern, which we borrowed $25,000 in 22, was not done. We borrowed for the municipal roof 3 times. This municipal roof 3 times, it has not been replaced, and then we borrowed to put repairs on the roof that should have been replaced. So I'm sure if I went more in depth, and I shouldn't have to do this, but how much, the VoIP phones, we borrowed $90,000 for a VoIP phone system that's not in place a year later. So we're spending a whole year of interest on that. It's getting outlandish on it. You guys are over borrowing and nobody seems to, care up here. And this is our money that you could say you do, Mr. Mercado, but in 15, small sample.
Sam, I can accept criticism. I just can't accept stories. Okay.
It's not a story. I'll give you every single.
You don't know what anyone cares about. So please continue.
I will give you every number that I have on here. All right. Fuel tanks, $200,000 borrowed in 2021. We don't have that. It wasn't done. Phase 1 fuel tanks in 2019, $200,000. So that's $400,000 since 21, but 19 was $200,000, not done. We borrowed that money. And we're paying interest on that. Why are we paying interest on stuff that we're not even getting done? Certainly we could do a better job, and we've proven that we can borrow money at the drop of a hat, because the NGEIT, what Mr. Carter said was, well, when those projects come up, we're going to access that. Okay, if they come up, but if they come up, then we can access that. So why can't we come back, instead of borrowing $7 million, borrow $5 million and then see what we get to? We borrowed for Lakeland's hockey rinks to repave that, and it took 2.5 years to repave that. We're constantly borrowing money and we're not using it. And then when we get around to using it, we've spent 2 to 3 years of interest. And the interest, debt service increases taxes, does it not, Mr. Curtis?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Debt service increases taxes.
Any expense could increase tax.
Okay, but does the debt service increase tax? So that's a yes. So if we're increasing our debt service payments by borrowing and not using it, that's just ridiculous. It's cash management 101. Mr. Carter sat up here last meeting and said where he went to school and all the degrees he has and all the reasons he makes the perfect business administrator. Well, this is cash management 101. And I think we're all getting tired of it. I'm sure Mr. Hutchinson, who can't even look at me right now, all right, is tired of me coming up here and standing up here for an hour, to go over this, and you guys don't doing anything about it.
Mr. Sweet, we'll see if anyone else would like to speak on this ordinance. Anyone likes to speak on this ordinance? Anyone else? Mr. Sweet, you have another 5 minutes. And you said you're wrapping this up?
Yes, I'm wrapping this up. But again, you're like shuffling me off. You're not answering the question.
I'm not shuffling you. You're going to come up here, and I recall what you said last year.
And it didn't change.
That you will filibuster this every year.
No, it's not filibustering. This is not filibustering.
Well, last year you called it that.
No, I said I could filibuster. I did not call what I was doing filibustering. I said I can filibuster if you want me to. Okay? This is not filibustering. This is a concern. You guys are borrowing. All right, but why is it?
We're trying to respond to this.
Okay, so why are we borrowing money? Why are we borrowing money that we're not going to use? How much of this project are we not going to get to this year?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
So why don't we make a smaller capital budget and then borrow it as, oh, look, now we're going to get to this stuff. Let's get to the things that fuel tanks, $400,000. I mean, that's not, as Mr. Hutchinson was saying, it's not peanuts. All right. With the weed whacker, oh, it's only $350. What's the big deal? This is $400,000. We borrowed for a roof, this municipal roof, 3 times. One says a town hall roof. This is the town hall as far as I'm concerned, correct? All right, so 3 times we've borrowed for a roof and you've yet to fix it because I've asked for those invoices and I've got those projects have not been done. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And council, you guys need to be held accountable for that. And if you don't think you need to be held accountable for that, then there's something wrong. Because there's no way any of you would borrow money and then not use it for the intended use. All right, and the reason it makes it so easy is because it's not your money. So before you vote yes on this, maybe we actually stop and go through this. I should not have to be the person to go through this every year. Thank you, Mr. Mercado, for asking your questions because you knocked off about 6 of them that I had questions on. But there should be questions asked. Mr. Hutchinson should keep track of his questions. Maybe I won't have to ask so many. All right? But this is ridiculous. 7.9 million, and how much is going to be not used? How much was not used in 2022? I asked for $968,000 of borrowed funds, 492,000 receipts. That means almost $500,000 was not used. What else wasn't used? In 2021, I asked for $553,000 for a new boiler, Academy Hall Phase 2 windows, weed whackers, blowers, Phase 2 fuel tanks. Only was provided with $17,118. $553,000, and again, another $500,000 over borrowed, not used. And it continues onward. Where the over borrowing seems to happen is on new stuff. The trucks, the vehicles, spot on. The blowers, the weed whackers, as much as I like to get them off the capital budget, spot on. Maybe $68 over, $68 under. I'm not going to criticize those. All right. But repairs, not done. Windows, painting, not done. Roofs, not done. We're borrowing for this. It's got to stop, guys. It really has to stop. And maybe we put a foot down and go through this with a fine-tooth comb and say, what are we actually getting to? What can we get to? And if we're going to get to something in the second half of the year, then we get to it in the second half of the year and create another bond ordinance. What's the big deal? Why can't we do that? Why do we have to borrow $7 million and then sit on $2 million? Sit on 3. I don't even know what the number is, but you're sitting on way too much money. You're not spending it, which if you borrow it and have to spend it, fine, but you're not. And I'll go back to the roof. 3 times we've borrowed for the roof and have not fixed it yet.
Mr. Cardis, you anticipate when that roof is going to be repaired?
I have to look at it, to be honest with you. I do want to point out to you, you recall there was a local finance notice during the pandemic, which encouraged us to look at canceling projects that had not been completed and putting that money towards the following year's budget.
Yes.
2017, you borrowed for the roof. That was 3 years before the pandemic, and you didn't replace the roof. All right. Bathrooms in 17. In 18, the generator for public works, $100,000, not done. TBA bathrooms, you borrowed $40,000, not done. The list goes on and on. I could stand up here probably for another, I'm not, but I can stand up here and read off this list. And this is just a small list. It's ridiculous. It's got to stop, guys. It has to absolutely stop. Because you're just spending, and you're spending our money, not your money. Well, inadvertently, maybe a little bit of your money, but you guys are up on council getting paid for this. So maybe you're being out of touch. I don't know. But 7.9 million again with questions. 7.1, I'm sorry. 7.1 million.
Mr. Sweet, is there anyone else who would like to speak on this ordinance that has not spoken yet? Mr. Sweet, you have another.
Maybe if
5 minutes.
Mr. Cardis would concentrate harder on not trying to prove me wrong and actually do his job on cash management 101, the township would be better off. All right, because he's more concerned with proving me wrong than doing the right thing. And all those degrees, Mr. Cardis, don't amount to a hill of beans if you can't do cash management 101. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll close the public hearing. I entertain a motion.
I'd like to make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison.
Yes.
Ms. Grace. Mrs. Aubrey Troxel. Mr. Mignani.
Yes.
Mr. Mercado.
Yes. Next is ordinance 0-23-05. This is ordinance confirming the purchase of real property known and designated as tax block 11701, lots 1, 2, and 3 on the tax map of the Township of Gloucester, located at the Black Horse Pike and having been acquired by contract negotiation. These are the three buildings located on the corner of Church and Black Horse Pike, the old bank building and the two white buildings next to it. This is just confirming the purchase of that property. We'll now open up the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak on this matter? Mr. Polidoro.
I intend to keep this short so the warehouse people can get themselves up to this microphone.
Very generous.
And before I start, I'd like to say thank you for the chief, for the police department's work for keeping the vehicles on the road much longer than they used to in the past. It helps us save a lot of money, and the vehicles are still in fine shape. That being said, the numbers that you're working on here in Black Horse Pike is including the bank building and other buildings. Is that correct?
Two buildings.
All right. Okay, and the bank building would be known as which number that you're referring to on Black Horse Pike? You have a 3, 5, and a 7?
Not one.
For address purposes, that would be 1?
There's 3, 5, and 7 on the address.
Are that, okay, this purchase is not done yet, right? The settlement is not done?
Oh, yes, it is.
It is done.
That's why when these came in, that's what triggered confirming ordinance.
Township settled on that.
We have our deeds and we have our title insurance.
Okay, and did the township buy this property sight unseen? You just saw the building, liked it, and bought it?
You know, that's a comment you made at the last meeting.
Yeah, I did.
I think that's erroneous because the Public Works Department, that building was torn. And
It was what?
Torn.
Toured.
And they took, not torn, toured, okay? They viewed it. It wasn't sight unseen.
Okay.
So you made that comment at the last meeting, and I didn't want to correct you, but I believe you're incorrect.
Okay, so then I stand corrected. So then the township knowingly bought a building with asbestos that needed to be remediated, repaired. You bought a building that you knew needed that repair and needed asbestos remediation?
We bought a building that sat on.
That's a yes or no?
We bought a building at the corner of Church and Black Horse Pike that sat vacant for years, okay? We've talked about the Blackwood redevelopment area, and that serves as a gateway to that area. That's why we purchased that property. So, yes.
Right, and had we
Okay.
not purchased that property would have continued to sit vacant and been a blight on that.
We can talk about having breweries all day. Breweries weren't going there. We had a dance center. We had all the different things there, okay?
And I get that, but if I may, you know, and like I said, I'd like to see these people at warehouse get up here. I don't want to
Okay.
lengthen this. All right, so that being said, and you're telling me how bad it could have been, somebody was already paying taxes on that. We were at a net zero. Now we own it. We're spending $400,000, and if I'm not mistaken, an additional $300,000, Mr. Cardis, which is now amounting to $700,000, where we were getting taxes paid for building that was just sitting there. Now we lose the tax revenue. We're going to pour $700,000 onto it, and we are going to continue to remediate. Well, you guys were pleading how bad it could have been.
Taxes weren't being paid on it.
Then why wasn't
There was
why
liens
wasn't
on
a
that.
tax sale?
There were liens on that.
Eventually-
Taxes weren't being paid on it.
Did we reimburse ourselves that when we got when the settlement was done?
So I said this at the last meeting when this came up, probably a month ago. You gotta recognize that the township has designated that's part of Black Horse Pike as an arts district. And they've been trying through the economic development and other reasons to bring in developers to kind of spark the center of Black Horse Pike into its arts district.
trying to get coffee shops in, trying to get other things in, and nothing is moving. Those properties have been sitting there vacant for sale for a long period of time. Nobody's interested in them. It wasn't going anywhere. The bank building is almost historic.
Almost what, I'm sorry?
It's almost historic. It's been that section. Now, it doesn't have a historic designation, to my recollection, but it serves now as a arts building for the township, because the township bought it. And the township bought it at a very good price. Both three properties are $50,000 each one. And the purpose of it is tear down the two white buildings and make parking. There's definitely a need for parking in the center of Blackwood. The bank building is going to be preserved. It's going to be used by Main Stage, and it's going to be used by the public for arts purposes. And that's what's the project. And hopefully that sparks other developers or other business interests to come in to the center of Blackwood to get it moving as an arts district. Restaurants or coffee shops to change what's happening on Black Horse Pike. That's why the township decided to purchase.
You might get a brewery, you might get a coffee shop, you might get, a vibe building, right? But if we leave it in its current state, nothing happens.
And when the concept of the art district came in, I'm in agreement that an arts district would be a great idea. It's a great concept. I also at the time mentioned that, with arts comes a following of people that want to invest in arts, philanthropists that want to invest in a development like this. And when I asked you, had you even looked into that, you poo-pooed it. You had your goals set where you as you want to do things, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask people that want to invest in arts and in our township. And, not to knock, the Main Stage, as Main Stage occupies that building, that's tax-free, that's another tax-free occupant of that. We all love, Main Stage and what they do in all of our events in the town. But, as we're looking down the road, we're going to need to make up for revenues but you didn't even take a look. Was there anyone interested? Someone that is into arts, that has so much money, that would love to see Gloucester Township thrive. You still, to this day, I'll bet, have not looked into a philanthropist or someone that would want to put that money out instead of the taxpayers.
Right, and your time is up. You're making a statement that you don't know about. Do you know that the Economic Development Corporation reached out to a philanthropist? Do you know that Triad tried to reach out to something? You're making a statement you don't know.
What's ironic?
You're saying that. You're just saying it. But thank you for your time. Your time is up.
But I asked you and you had no answers, just to make sure that we're clear. I asked and you had no answers. Thank you. I'll be back.
Ms. Smith.
Hello, good evening, Council. My name is Shauna C. Smithen. I live in the SDK Milbridge Gardens Apartment Complex. For the ordinance of 02305, the properties, when they were toured the first time, was it a different owner? When it was toured the first time, you said that it was toured previously years ago. Was it a different owner?
I didn't say years ago.
You said there was a while back, you said these buildings have been sitting and nobody was doing anything with them. When it was viewed the first time for possible purchase or even just to assess it for tax purposes, was it a different owner? Was it somebody different in charge of the buildings?
Mr. Carter, those, the bank building, that particular, I don't know the other two.
I'm not sure how long they owned it. From looking through the title report, they could have owned it for several years, I'm not sure.
But when you viewed it again for recently to decide to purchase it, had it been different, would a lot have had to change had it not been the same result as when you viewed it the first time, years prior? Like when it was observed to see what could be done with these properties, had anything at all been different, I think a lot would have had to change about your intent for the purposes, the people involved. There would have been so much disruption because you tend to make this a black box theater. And also on the Black Horse Pike, not to get into the other meetings, but there was a thought to put in the right on the Black Horse Pike, not too far from here. The new retail for the newly passed marijuana stores that are trying to open. This is going to be black box part of the arts section, which is theater. That tells me reenactments, different things. Also, you cannot view it. But had it been different when you viewed it this time to see what you were going to do with it, would a lot have had to change for the budget that goes into this, including the people involved? It's probably a good thing that it stayed the same is what I'm trying to inquire.
I'm trying to figure out how
Well,
to answer that question.
There, if it was a different owner previously altogether, somebody that was maintaining this property and the way it was viewed or what it could be used for, what its intention was as a building, if it turned around and it was taken over by the next generation, had anything changed? You don't think it changed, but since it actually may have a totally different owner, totally different circumstances that you know nothing about, had it not stayed the same, would that have made a big difference in what you're going to do with this building? These three buildings actually altogether.
I think that going forward, what we're doing with those three buildings will help in moving forward Blackwood and our Blackwood West redevelopment plan. I'm still waiting. The previous owner of that bank building had talked about putting an awning. If you drive by on Church Street, there is one awning that has been missing for over 15 years.
I actually used to use the PNC Bank. I didn't use that one often, but I did use it once. My mother never used
Ms. Smithman, you're
PNC.
stepping over me, okay?
You're talking about an awning. I'm talking
Ms.
about.
Smithman,
Oh, go
please
ahead.
continue. You have a minute and 30, please. I'm not gonna respond. Please continue.
You're speaking of maintenance and repairs on the building. I'm talking about the whole concept of what the intention of these buildings were previously. If the owner changed and you're unaware of that, had it not been the same when you viewed it the second time, how much different would that be for the circumstances that you're about to begin with this change? I'm thinking it would be a good thing that it would appear the same for the tour. Do you still intend to make it a black box theater?
Yes.
Has anything changed with your intention for the other two buildings?
No.
Is that a good thing?
I believe so.
Is there going to be a workshop? Because I do have some input for the Black Horse Pike. I was actually interested in trying to get transportation since the busing system does have its course. There are some things that could greatly improve the members of this community and many people at small type jitney system. If you're thinking of using parking and having it for arts, if you take the money used to get people, since there was not a lot of parking for that distribution center that they were trying to open, if you could have it run to places that have employment like parks. National Park, I think, has one in Swedesboro. There's one in Pennsauken. If you could have something run the course of the Black Horse Pike, stop in Lindenwold and stop at those places, that will get people to work to get them started.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
And these buildings could be a part of that.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this? Before we do, I just want to remind to the residents here. So there is a public comment and a public hearing. And with a public comment, you're able to ask questions or make comments on things. If you want a response, then allow us to respond. So I just want to remind folks that if you just want to make comments for 5 minutes straight, you can do that. But if you want to answer, we'll try to answer it. And please don't try to step over us when we're trying to respond. Who else would like to speak on this ordinance? Mr. Cruz.
Evening again. You know, I've stayed pretty close to this particular topic, and I just wanted to say or express that I see both sides of this, especially with regards to Ray's dialogue and then your dialogue back. I do agree with you that the building had been a blight on downtown Blackwood community for 15, 20 years. And the township purchasing that building, ultimately deciding to demo the two white buildings next door for parking makes sense because parking is going to be a necessity for the bank building. And I think investors were certainly fearful of coming into that bank building, knowing the environmental remediation that needed to be had. And so I think it does add up in my mind that the township would get that to a clean slate. Now, the decision for it to be a black box theater and remain, I don't mind it remaining an asset of the township, but I guess I'll give the example of what Pittman did. Pittman had the 112-year-old Pittman First National Bank in their downtown. And if you've been over there and you've seen it, it's now Merriman's Pub. And it's a bit of a unique situation where the township does own that asset, but they lease that asset to the business Merriman's Pub to offset the cost of that asset. And so when I was hearing Ray speak, that example came to the forefront of my mind as to potentially what this township could employ to resolve his concern, which is, we heard from Sam Sweet, when government continues to add assets, equipment, real estate, et cetera, how not only the capital budget, but the operating budget can begin to balloon, and how it can be very complicated and complex to audit that. So in order to offset that, maybe leasing the building, as a satellite location for a brewery or to a pub or whatever else would make sense from a cash flow perspective. And I guess the other thing that's in the back of my mind with regards to performing arts is the fact that Main Stage is literally no more than 100 yards right down the street, already promoting theater, dance, etc. So what necessarily is the advantage of having it as another art center? So I just wanted to bring that to your attention because I was hearing both sides. I understand both sides, and maybe there's a solution there. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Mr. Polidoro.
Hello again, Council Ray Polidoro, Ariel. I will be brief. It's just I didn't get enough time to finish what I was saying as you guys were responding, which I appreciate. Maybe it's time for the elected officials as well as those that have every interest in this art district to begin to look for folks that would like to invest in it. And Mr. Mercado's not here to answer. If you want to take a stab at it, if you guys had private investors or philanthropists that wanted to invest money in Gloucester Township, you would have loved to prove me wrong.
So Ray,
You would have said that. Go ahead, Mr. Hutchison.
Ray, I think you have to understand that the township is constantly seeking out things like that, okay? But I would suggest to you that the Black Horse Pike corridor right now needs a tipping to take place. And I believe we're on the cusp of that. This project, I believe, in my heart of hearts, is going to be a revival there. I really do. I mean, if you look at Haddon Heights Station Avenue, we've been here. Haddonfield, Collingswood, you just need something to take place. And if it takes place, then we can roll on it. And I think the administration has shown.
I didn't want to go too long, so let me respond to you by saying, this township has had people come before it when you're doing a budget that have spent a great deal of time and presented to you a budget that you poo-pooed. Anytime someone offers you help to be better at what you do and you refuse to get better. What I'm saying is, if you had looked for investors, there's artsy people around from Haddonfield to Philly to wherever that would be very interested in investing into a town like Gloucester Township. And again, as Mr. Mercado said, how do I know you didn't? Because if you did, you would have thrown it down my throat, and he did.
You merged two thoughts that I want to say. Okay. Number one, you're pulling an Odell back. Okay, you're just reaching in the sky and you're saying there's money out there. You didn't get it.
You can't keep coming to us for it.
Okay, and secondly, you bring up this, our failure to look at a politicized budget put together without any real sincere thought, okay? And you're saying they could reduce taxes, you didn't look at it. And
But without
they're doing
getting
their
too
job.
far, and the clock is running on me, not you. All right, so I did not know that when you write numbers down, it had a Republican or Democrat label to it. When those people put down numbers, they put something that they thought was their best intentions to make this township better. You never listen to what I'm saying. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to receive help, because if someone's trying to make you better and you take their assistance, you may just be surprised how much better you get. If you look around, who can help this art district out and not spend upward of, you're getting near $1 million in remediating, and you still got work to do. It's my hope that you'll find different ways of doing this, because this is just the first property you bought and you're spending a boatload of money on it. Who knows how many you may want to buy to make this art district happen, and how much more money it will cost us. Look for other means. Look for people who will have a vested interest. Not only that, when they invest, their financial interest is our succeeding,
And I'm sure
not the politicians.
I'm sure the administration is looking at all different ways.
You can't be sure, Dan. They've never accepted help before. Why would they now? That's all. Let me get going. I want some people to speak on the warehouse.
Mr. Palladoro?
Yes.
Do you have someone in mind that has money to help us? It sounds like it, so could you please give us a name?
Do you think you'll accept it?
Yeah,
Of course. We
We'll
pay
talk about
taxes,
that.
we all pay taxes. Do
We'll
you
talk
have a
about
name?
that.
Seriously? Seriously,
Do I
do you
look
have
like
a
I was
name?
joking? No,
Do you have someone that can help us?
yeah, they,
Financially?
let me put it this way, and you guys know me to be brutally honest. I don't have a valve or filter. When I said Gloucester Township, they made a little face, but they also saw the possibilities of what can be and what an art
Do you wanna
district
introduce
outside
them
of
to
town.
us?
Would that?
Would you like to introduce that person to us?
I would have to
so that we
speak,
can?
I would have to speak with him and see if that is his interest to move forward,
You might wanna do that.
and who he would have to meet with. But let's see what kind of work you guys do in the meantime. Let me get going.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has not spoken on this ordinance? I would like to speak again, or who has, Ms. Smithman, are you adding to what you previously stated? Ms. Smithman will be our last speaker on this ordinance.
Good evening, Council. Shauna C. Smithman. I live in the SDK Millbridge Gardens apartment complex. Just for clarification, is this the project that was moved from the zoning and planning, the 1000 Williamstown LLC?
We're not talking about that.
Oh, I was just asking. I didn't know, since it was written differently. Is that what this 02305 is referring to?
No.
Oh, that's what, I don't know what it is, so I don't know whether.
Well, you came up and asked questions.
And within this budget, does it include anything that has to do with the, for the labor, for the people that are making the repairs, refurbishing and tearing down? I only wanted to bring up, I know this is not
No,
a
this is
workshop, but
just-
if I could,
This is just the acquisition.
is there any budget put into the acquisition to benefit the town as far as learning experience to add to allow the Camden County Technical School to have the instructors for the different trades go in, even to learn demolition is a huge hands-on experience that would give the students that are attending, the high school students, or if insurance won't allow it, you can go to the county for the college level, but to have the students go into these old buildings from people that actually lived here, can explain it, show them the different devices that were used, the building structure, and to take it down, it's really invaluable, but you might need to add budget because sometimes it costs money, it doesn't always save money. But is that included in this budget?
No, this is just the acquisition of the property.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. To close the hearing on this ordinance, entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Second. On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Ms. Grace? Mrs. Albright Drexel?
Yes.
Mr. Munoz?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes. Before we go to the consent agenda, I need to switch the resolution numbers. Resolution 70 is saying we're authorizing the signing of a contract with Virtua Systems And resolution 71 is authorizing the acceptance of the grant award from the United States Department of Justice. They need to be flip-flopped.
Shall we do that in motion?
Yes.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
On the question, so we're voting on the flip-flop those numbers, okay? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Ms. Grace?
Yes.
Mrs. Albright Drexel?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes. I entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as amended. Mr. Hutchinson.
So moved.
Second. On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Ms. Grace?
Yes.
Mrs. Albright Drexel?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes. We have some GTE Gov access emails.
You got regular.
I'm sorry, regular agenda, sorry. Thank you for keeping me straight there.
Resolution number 73, resolution to make budget transfers between appropriation reserves in the calendar year 2022 current fund budget.
May I have a motion?
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Ms. Grace?
Yes.
Mrs. Albright Drexel?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes, thanks, Nancy, I appreciate it. We have some GTE Gov access emails. We've had 5 or 6 of them that I have to read through. First one is from Brian Burns in 5 Sawwood Drive, Erie, New Jersey. Good evening, council. It has now been over 14 months since Gloucester Township began submission of its overdue Rossi from the New Jersey Green Acres program. My recent communication with Jetsi Montefiore, the Green Acres coordinator for Cannon County, informed me that her office is currently reviewing the Rossi. Hopefully, the Rossi is approved and funds will be released. Is Gloucester Township still committed to preserving the Murray and Hayes properties? These properties are an important part of the Masons Run watershed, which is identified as an exceptional natural resource by the NJDEP, an important part of Gloucester Township's natural resources. Unfortunately, since the township's contracts with the Murrays and Hayes have expired, Mrs. Hayes is now considering other options. In a recent communication to me, she wrote, "To be honest, I gave up on them. I have someone that reached out to buy the property. Since we no longer have a contract with the township, they haven't given any updates. I'm going to pursue alternatives. Not the path that I want to take, but I just don't trust the township." End quote. Would a township representative be willing to contact the Murrays and Hayes and let them know the township is still committed to preserving these properties? Our natural resources and wildlife habitats are quickly being paved over. What will we leave to future generations? Jake from Triad, Jake Botticelli, talked with both owners today, and they are still interested in selling to the township. Next question is from Michael Shuck of 87 Aberdeen Drive. Firstly, I'd like to thank all of the council members for their service. As they say in call-in radio shows, first-time caller, emailer, long-time listener. Good evening, Michael. I reviewed the 2022 budget along with the past year's budget. I'm particularly interested in the reason behind the current board practice of making resolutions in January of each fiscal year to request additional monies for capital improvements. Examples: R 2301-046, a resolution adopting a temporary budget for the Township of Gloucester for 2023. R 2201-037, resolution adopting a temporary budget for the Township of Gloucester for 2022. R 2101-037, resolution adopting a temporary budget for the Township of Gloucester for 2021. 2022 capital improvements budgeted $430,000, yet R 2301-046 requested an additional sum of $8 million for a total temporary budget of $24 million. Debt service and public assistance not affected. 2021 capital improvements budgeted at $200,000, yet R 2201-037 requested an additional sum of $4 million for a total temporary budget of $20.9 million. Debt service and public assistance not affected. Question 1. Why are you budgeting for capital improvements so low, knowing that you'll be requesting additional amount in the temporary budget for the next fiscal year? As these temporary budgets never seem to make it into any true budget, and the public never sees these increases. A temporary budget allows the governing body response. Temporary budget allows the governing body to make purchases prior to the adoption of their budget. Per NJSA 40-19, a temporary budget shall be 26.25% of the prior year's budget, excluding debt service and capital improvement fund. In the temporary budget, the $8 million excluded is made up of the debt payment of $7,570,000 and the capital improvement fund of $430,000. 2, as the 2022 adopted budget, as certified and dated April 25th, 2022, requires a 6-year capital program, 2022 to 2027, anticipated project schedule and funding requirements. It would appear that you have knowledge of how much to include in your budget. The response, that is correct. That's why the township used the same amount as the prior year. 3, where will this 2023 temporary budget for capital improvements be captured in your 2023 appropriation categories under other expenses? Response, the temporary budget would not be captured in the 2023 budget. It's just an estimate, and it's 26.25% of the prior year's budget. Thank you, Mr. Shuck, for your question. Next, from Keith Gibbons, Blackwood Estates. Good evening, Council. This eGov question is being sent because my daughter loves learning how government's supposed to work. She's been wanting to send the question for a couple of weeks. The original question she wanted to start with was around fixing a road that is horrendous in our town. I explained to her the answer would be that it's a county road. Thank you. However, we did come up with an idea that she wanted to present to council. I myself am not sure this would be the correct process, as I proposed directly to the mayor and to the mayor's office an idea for a kayak sharing kiosk for Blackwood Lake, very similar to the bike share program on the Health and Fitness Trail. I provided links to the kiosk and even found and presented them a grant to cover the cost, and it went nowhere. No response back after a couple of attempts. I did not even get a simple no. Maybe presenting to council will yield a consideration of an idea to make our community better. With the price of groceries rising and the economic impact it is having on our neighbors, we thought of another idea. Eggs are $9 a dozen. There's a story of a town in Belgium that offered its residents 3 chickens. Many residents raised their hands to take the chickens. After the first month, the trash waste in town went down by 100,000 pounds because of the chickens eating the food waste, and it was not making its way to the landfill. I can't claim to know the validity of the story, but I can vouch for the impact of trash on a larger scale when you separate for compost, recyclables, and landfill. With the Blackwood Farmers Market making its comeback and the MPP program entering its 2nd year, we thought maybe a program like this will help on many levels. It could help families have a spring project at building a coop for their chickens, drive foot traffic to the farmers market as the destination to pick up their baby chicks, give families an opportunity to learn about separating things that do not need to end up in the landfill while reducing our tonnage fees for trash, provide food and protein, encourage outdoor activities, and encourage healthier food choices, and many more, including leading the way for other towns to follow promoting the same for their neighbors. Maybe it's something that could be incorporated to the MPP program by using the farmers market. The cost of baby chicks is very inexpensive for the impact we feel could make. If help is needed, we are willing to help. So I'll address the first question, Mr. Gibbons. Mr. Carter's reached out to our insurance liability broker. The kayak question, this is their response. We strongly recommend against the township control kayak kiosk concept. The rates that the township pays do not contemplate the exposure. However, the main issue is the considerable additional liability exposure represented. We do not perceive of any valuable at your own risk signage potential or to mitigate. The invitation to kayak would have to be already extended by virtue of the kiosk. In regards to the chicks, so we have, was it 6 chickens that if people wanted to have permits, do we still have a limit on the amount of permits that we provide as a township? You're smiling.
We do, we have exceeded that.
We've exceeded, okay. Mr. Gibbs, I'm going to forward your information to Regina Caristo, who heads up the MPP, as our MPP coordinator regarding this idea, okay? Your daughter's idea, excuse me. Huh? The road is a county road. Next question. From Denise Coyne, 1060 Choose Landing Road. Why was 1000 Williamstown, New Jersey LLC's application to construct a 234,000 square foot warehouse pulled from the planning board agenda on January 24th, 23 and deemed automatically approved according to NJSA 4055D-46C by the redeveloper on 2/26/23? I'm expecting a direct and clear explanation from Township Council, as they are the redevelopment entity responsible for evaluating the application and making decisions in accordance with local redevelopment and housing law. Please note that this form was submitted at 8:17 a.m. today. So, I understand that a mailer was sent out to the residents of that area. As council, we cannot comment on that. There's a possible litigation. But I will tell you this, that letter that was sent out is incorrect. I'm going to let our solicitor respond to that. Mr. Burns, you also asked the question as well, so this will answer your question as well. Mr. Carlin.
The land use law in New Jersey requires when an applicant makes an application to a planning or zoning board, whatever type of development it's trying to put forward, once that application is deemed complete, so it's what they call a completeness test on the application. Once the application is deemed complete, depending on the size of the application, the development, it has either a 45-day period of which the board must start to hear the application, or a 95-day period, depending on, again, the extent of the development itself. So from what I understand, I'm not the planning board attorney, but I reached out to the planning board attorney and also the planning board planner to get some background facts. And because the applicant has made that statement, does not mean that the application is now deemed approved. It's raising that issue, and as Council President said, it might push it into litigation. The response I got is that the application that was filed for the 1000 Warehouse LLC for that development was never deemed to be a complete application. Information that I have. And if it becomes a challenging court, that's going to be between the applicant and who's ever representing the planning board on that issue. The information that was said is that the application was not being complete. And the application, while it was going through its process, was also amended as to its documents that were being submitted. You have to also keep in mind that this area that they wanted to put the warehouse is a redevelopment zone, which requires any applicant by our ordinance that's going to do any development in a redevelopment zone must appear before the redevelopment entity, which is this council sits as a redevelopment entity. They made their application and came before the council to develop a way prior, must have been August or not, June of 2022. And they presented a plan of what they were going to develop there, which at that time was consistent with what the ordinance read. So council approved them as the redevelopment. Doesn't mean that they met their obligation they had to do the development. What that meant was that they were going to meet what the redevelopment plan says as far as criteria for development, and they had financial ability, and they were going to go forward with the improvement of that redevelopment zone in the sense of what was permitted. Their application then was made to the planning board, but set still, and it was never deemed complete. While they were going through the process, they made amendments to their plan without ever coming back before the redevelopment entity. So what they presented to the redevelopment entity now has changed. Obviously, they had to come back to the redevelopment entity to give corrections on that. They never did that. Then in November, town council administration amended the redevelopment area that warehouses were no longer permitted uses, but called conditional uses. Under the law in New Jersey, a conditional uses will require a D variance, use variance. Neither the planning board, if it's a combined board or zoning board, which hears use variances, has jurisdiction to grant a use variance when it's a redevelopment zone. The only way they can go forward, they have to come back to the council, ask for an amendment of the redevelopment plan so that their use becomes a permitted use. I spoke to the attorney way before all this developed on another issue as the same attorney representing, and I told them that the ordinance has changed. So if you're going to go in for a warehouse development, it's now a conditional use. And council's probably not going to speak for council, is probably not going to grant a redevelopment agreement when it involves a variance from what is permitted in the plan. The plan now says they're conditional uses. So that applicant on 1000 Williamstown Road never came back before the entity for an amendment to be the redeveloper. They never proceeded forward with the application. What they did is they asked for a hearing, and they didn't get their hearing, so they made a statement, as I understand, that now they want an automatic approval. Doesn't mean they get an automatic approval. My conversation with the planner as well as the attorney for the board, there are several deficiencies in their application. That's going to be up for them to decide or courts to decide. It doesn't, the impression seems to be out there is they got an automatic approval. They do not have an automatic approval.
Mr. Carter, I believe that was direct and a clear explanation. So, the attorney for the planning board has indicated that the developer misrepresented the law in that letter that was sent to those residents. And a short letter will be sent out to the developer's attorney stating that there is no certificate of default or failure to act, and will issue for the reasons that they state. And that technical review letters from the board professionals should follow the next day or two, stating that the application still remains incomplete, inconsistent with the applicable redevelopment plan, and referring the applicant to township council, which serves as the redevelopment entity for the township. I can't further comment on that. Is that correct? Okay. Mr. Burns, your question was similar. Would you like me to read that question?
Sure.
Okay. And Brian Burns, 5 Sawwood Drive, here in New Jersey. A resident on the board of the proposed warehouse behind the Target store on Berlin Crossing Road received a notice from the project applicant which read, quote, "Please take notice that the undersigned claims approval of an application to construct an approximately 234,000 square foot warehouse building with related site improvements on property located at 1000 Williamstown Hero Road and identified as Lot 1 in Block 18302 on the Gloucester Township tax map. Quote, the application is claimed automatically approved by reason of failure of the Gloucester Township Planning Board to act on the application for preliminary and final major site plan approval within the statutory time period after submission of its complete application as set forth in NJSA 4055D-46C, sent by 1000 Williamstown Road, NJ LLC, 585 Prospect Street, Suite 301B, Lakewood, New Jersey, 08701. This matter was on a recent planning board meeting, but was removed from the agenda. When will the public comment be heard on this application? What GT governing entity will hear this matter? And I believe that was responded to by Mr. Carter. We'll now have our second public portion. Anyone interested in speaking on any item, each speaker is entitled to 5 minutes. There's 30 minutes for the public portion. This in the
Thank you for staying so late.
Not a problem.
I feel like I've been here all night too. Okay, my name is Beth Scanzolo. I am on Annapolis Drive in White Oak.
I am also the organizer of No Warehouses in Aerial. So obviously my questions are on the warehouse. Thank you very much for your very clear and concise explanation. I do appreciate that. So I just want to confirm with you, to date, their package is still not considered complete.
That's the determination by the planning board, correct?
Okay, so therefore ordinance O-22-23, which is the implementation of the warehousing guidelines, does now apply to this piece of land and this developer, correct? Okay. My really interesting question, was the township served that notice that got put in a letter and got put in the Courier Post? Did you guys get anything, or
No.
it hit the mailboxes and it hit the newspaper and
I
that's
just
the
got a
first
bunch of
anybody heard?
screenshots over the weekend, and
Yeah,
that's what I received. And
Yeah,
a chatter on social
I
media.
got a freaked out message, like, I think on Saturday afternoon, oh my God, I just got this.
And unfortunately, people just run with it rather than, coming here and asking questions or.
Well, it was over the weekend, so, it's that kind of thing.
Well, I appreciate you coming here and
Yeah,
following up.
and I was on the phone with Andrea McPherson at 8:30 this morning. So getting everything cleared up and then putting out to the public, okay, the township is not standing for this. This is not true. This is not valid. I did communicate that all out there in your guys' defense, just so, it wasn't intentional that it got pulled from the planning board so it would exceed a date, etc. I guess my only other questions, if this developer completely falls through and the land goes back up for sale, I noticed that the previous time when this landowner made this purchase, the real estate listing did list light warehousing industrial as an allowable use. So if this developer completely falls through and puts it back up for sale again, will that warehouse usage be removed from the language of what is an approved usage of that land? I mean, this is a hypothetical, obviously.
Well,
So I don't know if I can.
and the reason I'm smiling, because, there is an applicant that has, and the reason why we're hesitant to answer this is because if this goes to us as the redevelopment entity, and we're showing a bias or moving forward of what we intend to do with it, we're gonna have an applicant sue the township. And that's going to take money out of everyone's pocket. Okay, so
I have just a hunch for how brazen they were with sending out those letters and putting it in the newspaper. I have a feeling you're gonna be facing some litigation from them anyway.
We don't wanna make decisions before the issue is ripe enough. I think we just need.
Okay, and my last question, and this is speaking to you guys as a redevelopment entity. Have any of you actually been out to the site? I know you said you live out in Aerial, but I mean, have the rest of you been out to the site? Have you noticed the traffic? Have you seen the proximity of the townhouses and then the residents and those are ballpark and there's an elementary school? Like, are you aware of how this is situated in our daily lives?
I'm aware, Beth, I have a bad habit when I'm in the southern end of town. I'm hitting Chipotle or Panera and then cutting.
Don't you come down Sickle River Road. No, come down Williamstown Road.
No, I cut through. I had to, during the course of the work, I had to go to some of our schools the other day and I took a look at it. I see the townhouses and proximity of it. So I'm aware of it.
Yeah, and we also, we have residents here from the Lakeview Estates. There's brand new, very expensive new single homes.
Yep.
This is literally, somebody who is sitting here right now is faces that field. So it is a very big concern. And when you're talking about warehousing and trucks and pollution and things like that, having the GT maintained ballpark, Wyoke Ballpark and playground right there. I mean, this has to be a concern. It can't be ignored. The elementary school, the implications it could have to GT busing for Mullen and for Lilly. I mean, the buses use that route. And, I did it on MapQuest in preparation for the planning board meeting. we cannot assume these trucks are all magically gonna come off the AC Expressway. They're not. They're gonna get off Sicklerville Road and then they're gonna cut down Jarvis. This is just, it's like, it's multiplying in problems. Like, this is just not a good spot. We, the residents, would rather have anything else commercial other than warehousing. And, you know, we've got interest in Sprouts, like, you know, getting one of the Sprouts supermarket. Everybody in this township would love one, believe me. Throw the question out there, you'll get a ton of answers. So I would just like to, when maybe this ever falls through, please keep an open mind to maybe try and court more favorable. Or keep the idea open of maybe creating a Gloucester Township dog park east. Because right now I live in Wyoke. Legally, I'm not allowed to walk my dog in that park. Because it says no dogs allowed, you're only allowed to walk your dog at the dog park. Well, I have a dachshund and I can't take her to that dog park because the big dogs are gonna just run her over. You know, a dog park out over on this side of the township wouldn't be a bad idea. Something that would preserve the land and still provide something useful to our community. Place where people can gather, place where people can walk their dogs without having to drive clear across the township to do so. So just keep those kind of things in mind, please.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and may I make one comment? I was reading the police sign-off report that's attached to the application for this warehouse. And the officer who did it said, oh, there's no traffic implications, no problem. They may want to take a closer look at that and not just give a blatant statement like that, because clearly there are numerous traffic accidents, everything else that are up around that area, and the addition of trucks, it is clearly a public safety issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Mr. Burns? Ms. Gallagher, you'll be next.
Good evening, Council. Brian Burns from Sullivan Drive and Ariel.
Mr. Burns.
I appreciate Jack reaching out to the Murrays and the Hazes. Jake, I'm sorry. I'll get it right one of these evenings. I got a quick comment with regard to the warehouse behind Target. I'm kind of like confused as to why that would be considered a development zone anyway. I mean, economically, that's one of the strongest economic areas in our entire township. Is that something that went way, way back and was just never changed?
Way back. When I first got on council, 2005, the Target and the Lowe's was not part of that. It was a private landowner who sold that property. And there was residents that came here and talked about it. One particular resident stood out, said she would never frequent it, but then her daughter was working at the Target. But it was a redevelopment area.
All right, but it doesn't really qualify to the definition of redevelopment area now. So, I mean, if this developer backs out, you guys, thank God, you're going to step up and hopefully stop this thing from happening and the land gets sold.
If you're asking for us to give you an opinion as to what.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I just make a strong suggestion that if it goes up for sale, rezone it. Don't keep it in the development zone. And you can make it R1, you can make it R3, you can make whatever you want. But what it is now doesn't fit the definition of what it is. So the other thing I want to give you guys real quickly. You can all read the outside of it, but I ask you if you please open up so you can see the map on the inside of this. So this is a brochure put out by the Eastern Joint Venture for Brook Trout Initiative. Brook trout are threatened habitats across the entire East Coast. But I want to point out to you, you open up the map, look in Jersey, and see that tiny, tiny little blue dot down south. That's us, folks. That's us. And you guys have the ability to preserve, the remaining land in this watershed by preserving the Murrays and the Hazes. And it doesn't really, I can't convey this any stronger to you than this. And this is an incredible rare natural resource. And it's just, it's in your guys, it's in your hands. You can do it. There's no money being spent for the land through taxpayers. It's Green Acres and the Office of Natural Resource Restoration, 100%. Right? Oh. You know, this, here it is. And please, please read the rest of this and learn a little bit, because educated people make smart decisions. So the more I can educate you, the more you're going to understand how important this is. And it'll be a feather in everybody's hat someday when I'm not here and you're not here, and hopefully, this natural resource is still here. You guys can take credit for it. I'm just trying to preserve what's left of our natural resources here. And a lot of it is being paved over left and right. And this is something that is certainly, to me, worth hanging on to, and I hope it is to you too. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Brian. Mr. Calabrese.
Good evening, Council. Anthony Calabrese, Blackwood. I'm here to continue the dialogue about the last meeting with regard to the MUA, the employees, the absorption into Public Works. Quick question. Has it been sent up to the financial board yet, or was that was the March 15th date that we talked about last time? Okay. So, and I do know that a phone call was made to Ray and stating that somebody was on vacation before we could have a meeting. Essentially, I'm just trying to, see where that process is for us to have to sit down and have that communication about everything. I understand that before it gets sent up to the financial board, you can't answer certain questions, but there's still other topics that we can talk about, even speaking in hypotheticals about if it does get approved, how do we go forward? What are the actual plans, especially regarding with the employees themselves?
Mr. Carter, is that something that we can put together in the next 2 weeks?
I would say so, yeah. Talk to the mayor. But I did sit down with Mr. Calabrese and with Mr. Carr.
Okay.
And Marlene was also there. And I explained to them exactly what we were trying to accomplish. And I said, you're free to talk to the employees about it. And I guess he has not.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I think you're looking for a more open forum, like a Q&A.
Well, so again, and I know I stated last time, I am the shop steward for the employees. So it's just to ease minds. And again, we have a lot of hearsay, all stuff, and obviously there's no controlling that, but just to at least get some sort of sound mind for, again, the 30 plus employees that are there. That way we can at least begin to, again, ease our minds and then see where this is going.
We're looking for the path of least destruction.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Calabrese. Ms. Smithman.
Good evening, Council. Shawn C. Smithman,
Good
SDG
evening.
Millbrook Gardens Apartment Complex. The questions for this warehouse, what I've noticed for this topic that I know nothing about, other than I noticed it's being moved from the different meetings held by the township. As someone who didn't really get involved in homeownership ever, has anyone considered, you're talking about the different people involved in purchasing and what they intend to do with it. Is anybody actually speaking to the person that is actually going to acquire and live in the building? I actually come from a very large family that is from the Blackwood area, the Hilltop section over on Oak Avenue, 34 Oak Avenue. My father was one of 7. They're all in a different trade. They don't communicate with each other. They don't look out for each other in different ways. When it comes to something like this building that sounds like it's being ricocheted around, has anybody ever actually spoken to the one person that's actually going to utilize the building itself? because they could be constrained and be faced with a lot of resistance from other entities that have their own interests in mind, protecting their own interests of things they want involved and don't want involved. But the person that would actually be utilizing that property, has anybody actually spoken to that person?
May I respond?
This
to that,
warehouse.
Ms. Smith? So, I didn't get the first part of it, so I just leaned over to Nancy. What building? Are you talking about the bank building again on the Black Horse Lane?
No, this
Warehouse?
1000 Willingstone LLC.
No warehouse there now.
I know there's no warehouse there, but I noticed it was on the door to be moved from the one meeting and sent to council, and then you're saying that there was a rumor that it was approved and all. But has anybody ever actually just spoken to the person that's actually going to utilize the property? That could solve a lot if you could get through all the different administrative red tape.
Well, an attorney is going to speak to that developer's attorney regarding
Don't be so sure. Nobody actually speaks to me, but they seem to think they know my opinion on different matters. So when it comes to this, it sounds like the same thing is going on for whoever's involved in that. I just didn't know if you considered it, just someone who's actually in the construction field, made a living wage, had a job still where it did all these things, they still regarded as next to nothing, and the resistance it's stronger than the humidity in New Jersey. It can knock you down without even touching you, just so you know. That could.
I'm not following. I don't know what you just said, but I apologize.
All the things that it sounds like there's something that's with litigation also.
And the attorney's gonna reach out.
I've never sued anybody my entire life, but I know people that all they do is talking. So if you want to speak with the person that's actually going to utilize the property, that might help. I have something else I'd like to bring up.
Okay.
When it comes to the different town ordinances, growing up, I was told there's a lot of different ordinances for the Williamstown area. I know that this is Gloucester Township. It's a different township, but still New Jersey, still same systems apply. There were so many that they don't use them anymore. They do use them, but they don't announce them, they don't enforce them. But there's a lot of up and coming citizens here. I noticed at the meeting, some of them were children. When I was a child, if you had told me where I could go to look at those ordinances, where would you tell me to go? So that the people in the audience that come to these meetings would know, where is there like a book of ordinances? Can somebody purchase it for the active members of the community that would want to know the different ordinances so they can read them, question them, email the lawyer and ask them, what did they mean by this ordinance? The history of it, so they can learn them.
Clark is the holder of all these ordinances. Nancy?
Yes.
Would you like to respond to that?
We have the ordinances printed in books. We're currently undergoing a codification to update all of our codes in the book.
Part of the capital budget?
Yes, they hadn't been updated for a long period of time. So we're in the process of having those redone, but the ones that are in books right now, we have in our office.
So they're not at the local library. Or available online.
There is a set at the library, yes. Yeah.
Well,
there is a set at the
some people,
library.
such as children, may not be able to get to the library on their own, but I know that the internet is very widely used by everybody, except for myself. I'm trying to get there. Are they online and available? What is the website for somebody that could go to look at them and give them the ability to ask questions, like I said, because when I was growing up and I was a child, I would have had questions.
Well, we have them taken down from being online because there were a lot of, yes, outdated. Especially with fees and those types of things, so we didn't want to open ourselves up to.
Any idea of when they might be, that the project might be finished?
Yes, within the next 6 months.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith.
Oh, the website. You're saying that the information.
They were taken down. There's a project underway to
Possibly have them back up in the next 6 months.
within the next.
And can the books be purchased? Is there enough of them to where they make copies so somebody could purchase them to have in their home?
There are thousands.
There's
and
4
thousands.
binders that are this size each.
Somebody might want to
But
purchase them.
they also have not been updated. So once that project is completed, then yes, we will have an updated printed version and then a PDF version that will be online.
Do they copy enough for somebody to be able to purchase them for their home? So you have to come here to look at them, that's what I'm asking.
Ms. Smithman, thank you very much for your time. Is there anyone else? Gentleman in the back. Good evening.
My name is Antron Anderson. I live in Wyoke myself. I have more of a question for you guys. I heard you guys talking this evening about spending money to purchase a bank and some other property. Is it possible to purchase either one of these warehouse properties where the golf course used to be or the one behind Target to build more space for our children? I have 2 young boys. They both interact in sports. We love our Gloucester Township community, but there's not enough space. I moved here from Voorhees to kind of get some space to expand, and I love it out here, but I just feel like with all the building, there's no place for us to go anymore. I live right in front of the park that's in Wyoke, and every day it's just, if it's 65 degrees tomorrow, you can't park there. So I don't know if there's plans to maybe turn one of these projects or some other land in this area, or excuse me, not where I live at, into a park or something that the community can use, a place to ride our bikes, a place to go fishing. You know, I know there's several lakes in that area. One was used by the dive school to teach underwater welding, and the other one there's a neighborhood built around. So for us to find a place just to go for a walk around the lake is impossible in Gloucester Township, where I live. I mean, I know there's places to go. We've visit other parks in the area, but again, they're all overrun. For my kid to get on a basketball court at 10 years old, it's almost impossible. So I just had a question for you guys. Is there a possibility for development of a park in the future?
He's asking a question relative to 2 properties in question. The answer is you cannot speak to the subject.
How about any other property out that way?
We're always looking to improve the opportunities for kids in the community, always. I mean, at the root of the acquisition of Black Horse Pike properties that was discussed, the Black Fox Theater, the availability of opportunities for kids is paramount to this administration. And
Is there a reason? I mean, that's my first meeting here, but all night you said no. Just about everybody that's come up here. Very rude, very nasty.
And that's fine. I'm gonna say,
I understand.
I'm gonna give you an answer to the question that you present. I cannot answer the questions. I stated why I'm not gonna answer the questions here. Now, if it's a different, which specific no are you referring to? Because I'll answer why I gave the no.
I understand. You're saying that these warehouses can't be developed into anything else.
I'm not saying that. You're putting words in my mouth.
I just asked you if it's possible. He looked at you and you said no.
I'm saying we can't comment on it because there are reasons why we can't comment on it. That's what I'm saying.
Mr. Anspike, if I can respond, sorry. We're very careful about these particular projects because of litigation. Because what happens is if something at the planning board, an application is denied for whatever reason, the zoning board, and that gets kicked back to council, there is a bias on our part. We commented. I wanted to go to a planning board meeting. I can't because they're going to say, well, the council president was there at the council meeting, at the planning board meeting, and he has a vested interest, or he's, possibly tipping the hand of the township as far as, where we're going on a particular project. I'll give you an example. There was a project located on Ariel Road in Blenheim area. You're familiar with Skeeters or with the Gloucester Township, Skeeters, Skeeters, Walgreens, that area. I use that as a landmark for people, Skeeters, so they know. But there's apartments that are being built there along with townhomes. That project was approved back in 2005. No, first it was denied. The developer goes to court, and correct me wrong, Mr. Carlmayer. Developer, that application was denied by the planning board because basically they said, we don't want it there. We don't like it. And then that got kicked back, goes to court, goes back to council, and then that project was approved.
What happened is, in 2008, you had a recession, so that project was stalled. But then you had a developer come back maybe 3 or 4 years ago and said, hey, they bought it from another developer. Now that project is moving forward. But that's, I know Mr. Hutchinson say they sound like he's saying no to everything, but we have to be careful how we respond to it. That applicant could be sitting here watching the live stream of this as well, and saying that they have a bias towards their application. So when we're listening to you, we really can't comment on it. We address what we're going to do as a township in responding to the letter that was sent out to the residents. We do have, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, 67 parks throughout the township. But there are opportunities that we look at as far as using open space, Green Acres funding to purchase certain properties throughout the township. But I appreciate your comments about it, and maybe we can identify some of those areas that you and your boys can play. Where is the parks filled? Over at Hickstown Park, or
There's
the basketball courts?
the basketball, there's a larger park around the corner. I'm not sure of the road, but it's not too far from 42.
By the college.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's always full. Are there any parks being planned in Gloucester Township?
Additional park off the top of my head, no. Mr.
Pickleball courts. Enhancing the park.
Enhancing that. Okay.
Thank you for your time.
We'll try to continue the dialogue with you, Mr. Anderson. Thanks for coming up. Welcome to, how long have you been here for Voorhees?
I've moved here, I actually moved here from Mexico 9 years ago.
Oh, from Mexico.
Yeah, I grew up in Voorhees. I moved to Mexico. I had some complications with my first son's birth, and we went to the Virtua Hospital here in Sewell, and where her doctor was in Sewell, and decided to stay.
Okay.
So passing down Cross Keys Road, we saw this area, and we really liked it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll close the second public portion. Polling of the records.
Mr. Carlo.
Nothing to report.
Mr. Cardis.
Nothing.
Chief Harkins.
I just want to thank council, President, council for the moment of silence for Chief Stickler. We'll have his funeral tomorrow. I appreciate Mayor ordered flags in the township lowered in his honor. Chief Stickler, I had the pleasure of meeting him on probably 2 occasions. 96 years old, was a World War II U.S. Navy veteran, combat veteran, involved with, I know from talking to the family, the Iwo Jima campaign, was hired as a police officer on July 5th, 1960, was promoted to chief of police here in 1975 and served as chief until February of 1989 upon his retirement. So, the family's grieving, but we'll render him honors tomorrow, and I just want to say thank you and appreciation for the moment of silence.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. McGill. Mr. Hutchinson.
Thanks for coming.
Ms. Graves.
Thanks for coming out, but I also want to say congratulations again to all the recipients tonight. And it's always nice to see young folks becoming leaders in their community. So I'm always excited about that. So looking forward to Women History.
Mrs. Albright Troxel.
Happy to see such young people being so dedicated to helping others. I think more of us need to do that in our own way. I think it'll make the world a better place, not just Gloucester Township, not just your own little world, but it will help everyone, help everybody. Thank you for coming. I appreciate some of the comments. I don't always agree with your comments, but I appreciate the value that you are able to speak in a country that does not kill you because you don't say what they want to hear. So I just want to thank you all for coming.
Mr. Mignon.
Mr. Burns, thank you for this interesting information. Congratulations to all the honorees, and everybody have a great night. Thank you.
Mr. Mercado.
Thank you for coming out this evening. Congratulations to all the honorees. On the township's website, we are accepting nominations for Women Who Make a Difference to celebrate Women's History Month. We will celebrate that on our March 27th meeting. With that, I entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you for the pen.
here, so welcome, sir.